Welcome in to Check the Mic. Steve Palazzolo, Sam Monson. We're live on YouTube, coming at you from the Antonio Cromartie studio, in part with Huggies. It's all presented by FanDuel, and it's time, Sam, for our Week 10 NFL review.
Indeed. Morning.
That's good. You're like the old WWF meme, WWE meme. You just say indeed to everything I say. That's great. It's getting chilly in the studio.
It's getting chilly outside, and it's getting, correspondingly chilly in the studio.
Wintry mix, overnight, cold.
This being just a concrete block and all.
It's going to be fun. We're gonna crank through it in 3 hours. Week 10, another exciting, fun week.
Maybe that'll speed up the show when it gets to like 25 in here.
When your teeth are chattering and it's like, all right, let's get to the end here.
Yeah,
it's a blowout. Move on. All right, man. You ready to go?
Yeah.
We get right into it with Thursday Night Football. It was a doozy. Denver Broncos 10. Las Vegas Raiders 7. 10-7 on Thursday Night Football.
It's just full boomer vernacular over here.
Oh, yeah. All the good stuff. Broncos moved to 8-2. Their seventh straight win, according to the graphic at the bottom of the screen. I trust it. I believe it. Broncos sitting in first place in the AFC West got down 7-0 to the Raiders in this one. Kind of an ugly game, though. A little windy over there. I always defend the quarterbacks in the wind, but ugly offensive showing for both teams. But Denver escapes, and now they've got their extended rest here, not a full bye, to face Kansas City in 2 weeks, who's going to be coming off of their bye.
The mini bye.
The mini bye.
That's what they call it.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 7 a.m. Figuring it out.
Yeah, I mean, the race for the 1 seed in the AFC is Denver against New England. Just like, the late 90s.
Yeah, just like Peyton and Brady. It's like
even before that, going back to like Elway and...
I know, every decade's got some of those things.
Every decade.
Yeah, Elway, Bledsoe, Peyton and Brady.
Yeah. Every decade's going to come back around to Denver, New England.
Nixon May, a couple second-year quarterbacks here.
Yeah.
It was Denver wins, but we always talk about like the hot button issue that is the Bo Nix discourse. This was not a good one, not a good game for him or the Denver offense. But hey, they get the win. Their defense was excellent once again.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like 4 units, offense and defense, both sides of the ball. It felt like 3 of them were bad, right? Both offenses were bad, and the Raiders' defense was bad. Denver's defense is good, but it's like it almost didn't matter. One side was being kept low because there's a really good defense on the other side. The other side was being kept low just because both sides of the ball were bad. The sad thing is, it started well for the Raiders. They had like a 16-play drive for a touchdown to Denver's 3-and-out to start the game. Like everything was coming up Raiders for the first 10 minutes or so, and A.J. Cole kept booming these monstrous punts. Meanwhile, the Denver punter was shanking everything that came off his boot. So everything was going the Raiders' way. And honestly, it felt like it swung when Jackson Powers-Johnson went down. Like he was playing really well. He was burying people on these early runs. He hobbles off. It's not quite the same from that moment on. I mean, it was Denver's defensive line, so it probably wouldn't have lasted anyway. But then it's like the longer this game goes, eventually Denver's going to pull something together.
Yeah, and they did. My favorite stat, I don't know how it ended up. Well, there's two fun stats here. The Raiders had the first 7 first downs, so they were dominating early. And then the Broncos had the next 7 first downs. So it was just like back and forth early on. But as you said, Denver's defense eventually took over.
Yeah, I'll give you another good stat.
Yeah.
This one from somebody called Bill Smith, NFL. The Broncos and the Raiders each had more penalties than first downs tonight.
That was my second stat.
Yeah, it's only the second time since 1950 that's happened. And the first time it happened was a battle of 0-5 expansion teams.
Jeez. So as I always say, my favorite
76 line. Expansion.
If you watched Thursday Night Football and you felt like you were watching history, you felt like something special was happening here, you were right. Something special. More penalties than first downs on both sides.
Even relative to Thursday Night Football, this feels special. Well, it was. Yeah.
I liked some of the comments, and I had one of my own. It was like a throwback. What was the year? It was like 2014 or so. It's not that they had never done Thursday Night Football, but around then they made it a regular occurrence. That was like every week we're getting a Thursday night game. They used to do it after Thanksgiving, right? You wouldn't start the NFL Thursday night slate till the last few weeks of the season. But once they started to make it an every week thing, you got some sloppy games. And then they put every team on Thursday Night Football. It's like, here we go. Here's rookie Blake Bortles and Charlie Whitehurst going head-to-head in a division matchup with Color Rush. I mean, it was like an homage to those early Thursday night football games. It was fun.
Yeah, it felt like Thursday night slop.
Classic. Thursday night slop. It was
again,
what Aikman said that one time.
It was. In the little audio montage nobody listened to. The Raiders had opportunities. Like, they kept shooting themselves in the foot. I mean, both sides did with all those penalties, but the Raiders in particular, you had the big bomb just before halftime to Dante Thornton down the sideline, the play he's there for, and he drops it. Actually, a good pass put in his hands, basically. He's not able to come up with it. You have a big run by Ashton Genty that gets taken off the board because of a holding call. That one felt pretty ticky-tacky. I don't even think it was holding, and it was way away from the point of attack. I don't even know why it was called necessarily, but that was taken away. Like, they had just every time the Raiders thought they made a big play, it got either removed or they couldn't complete it. And then eventually they just stopped doing anything. They went 7 straight drives without a first down, which is the longest streak in the NFL this season. And all it really took was for Denver to just literally pull themselves together for 5 minutes and, take the lead.
And we were 1 week removed from Brock Bowers going off for 3 touchdowns, 12 catches, just the one for 31 in this one for the Raiders. So it looked like maybe their offense is ready to turn a corner. Look, Denver's defense is legit, right? When you watch them play, the 6 sacks on Geno Smith, some of them are quick pressure. Some of them, it's just you take away the first read, take away the second read, and then they get home. It is really tough to complete passes on the Denver Broncos defense right now, and because of the coverage and pass rush. I'm going to say this a lot. Like when you talk about the Texans, when you talk about the Seahawks, it is the melding of what they're doing in the back seven and what they're doing up front. And they're doing it extremely well, and that's why the Raiders couldn't move the ball after that first drive.
Yeah, and the Raiders, that offensive line is banged up. They're already missing multiple players now with Jackson Paris-Johnson going down. What did I say? Is that 8 different players had multiple pressures? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
Classic
8.
Vance Joseph.
11 different players had multiple pressures for Denver.
So all that said, just to touch on it quickly, again, Bo Nix always seems like a hot button issue. He's got all these touchdowns, he's top 5 touchdowns. If you want to lean on some stats, that Bo Nix has been great. That's one thing, but clearly throw for throw, missing some stuff. Footwork was atrocious in this game. I likened it to the old Madden game where if they have the auto drop back. Don't know how it is now. They have the auto drop back, and if you throw it before you get to the top of your drop, you throw it off balance. That was Bo. It was Bo in this game. Almost everything that he did was off balance. And then I always give the caveat that it was windy. 15-mile-an-hour winds affects the ball, right? That is, the ball was blowing on the ground when they were setting it. So both things are true. Let's not make a full Bo Nix determination in tough throwing conditions. But the problem is this has showed up many weeks this year where the offense is null and void for about 3 quarters. In this case, it was all 4.
He was terrible in this game. The only saving grace would be it was kind of windy, and maybe that was a part of it. But he's been terrible in other games as well. So, I suggested that it was utterly ridiculous to suggest that Bo Nix belonged in the same debate as Drake May in terms of who's better right now. It's a bad way of doing it. It's a dishonest argument, but I'm going to make it anyway. If you're comparing them just this week, I rest my case, Your Honor. Just watch those 2 games and tell me those guys belong in the same conversation right now. They don't.
All that said, we're a year and a half into Bo Nix as quarterback of the Broncos, and look, it's middle tier quarterback type of vibes, right? It's if you're a hater, you'll have stuff to hate on every week probably. If you're a believer, a Bo-liever even, you'll have stuff to believe in almost every week, which is fine. I think he's a fine NFL quarterback and might have a bright future, but this was a rough game for him, and he's had a bunch of those this year.
Well, the bigger point is we've seen better play from him, consistent better play. So right now, Denver is 8-2 chasing a 1 seed, and Bo Nix isn't playing well. Their most important player, i.e. the quarterback of the team, is not playing good football, and we know he's capable of playing better than that. So if he ever gets back to the level he was playing at late last season, then Denver's scary.
That's where I am. I'm going to spend a lot of this show saying, here's the results, but, man, I'm really looking forward to next week. There's a bunch of big games next week, and the one that we're looking forward to is Broncos-Chiefs, right? It's a massive game for an 8-2 Broncos team versus a 5-4 Chiefs team. And I would say I can't wait to see Denver's defense against that Kansas City offense and their speed. Kansas City coming off the bye, seeing what adjustments they make. But Bo Nix and Denver, they got to play better offensively. They can't sleepwalk through 3 quarters and then hope that they're going to be the ones, I don't think, that pull off the fourth quarter magic, even though they were very close to doing it last year. Very close to making the comeback against Spags' defense and then had the blocked field goal. So big game this week. We'll preview the whole thing Thursday. But if you're a Broncos fan, be happy. Take the win, 8-2. Clearly you want to clean things up on the offensive side of the ball, though. 10-7. Broncos get the win. You got no more use for that game?
Nope.
All right, let's go to Germany.
What?
Yesterday morning, it was the Indianapolis Colts getting the 31-25 win over the Atlanta Falcons. Colts moved to 8-2. Falcons, 4th straight loss, now 3-6. You look like you want to say something.
Nope.
Colts get the win.
They do.
In overtime. A walk-off touchdown for Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
Who finished with 32 carries for 244, 3 touchdowns, including that 83-yarder. Started out as offensive fireworks, both sides of the ball, kind of. I mean, they scored a lot of points. One came, because of a strip sack on Michael Penix, but
fireworks.
It was a lot of points. Then they stopped scoring for a little bit until the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that first touchdown, Jonathan Taylor tied Edgerrin James for the most Colts rushing touchdowns in history. The Colts have this fascinating history of running backs where they've had like half of the all-time great running backs in NFL history,
for 5 years.
None of them lasted more than half of their career with the Colts.
It's so true, right? Eric Dickerson,
Falk. Marshall Falk, Edgerrin James, now Jonathan Taylor. He'll ship off next week or something. Like they have all these Hall of Fame running backs, but they all have half of their career there. And then the other half with the Rams, weirdly. Like, they just split time with the Rams.
Jonathan Taylor to the Rams next year.
Yeah, so they're like, as much as they've got this insane list of running backs, the records aren't actually that high because you're only dealing with half the career of any of these guys.
Look, I was saying last night, if you want to play the MVP game and you want to make a case, right? Because I know our running backs don't matter friends would say, well, Jonathan Taylor didn't do this until Daniel Jones got
Not just
there.
Would say, have already said.
This wouldn't happen if, once Daniel Jones got there.
Right.
But then you could say, well, Daniel Jones has kind of regressed back a little bit these last couple. He's putting the ball on the turf. We got some stats on that in a minute here. This would be your case if you want to play the MVP game for Jonathan Taylor, 244 yards, including, again, the 83-yarder that was going nowhere. That's the one thing about running backs and their value and what like Saquon Barkley did last year is when you create 60-plus yard touchdowns, in this case 83-yard touchdowns out of nothing.
Right.
Incredible value on those plays. And I know you get handed a million other runs that go for 2 yards and -1 yard and 4 yards, and it's like, oh, negative EPA left and right. When you create 83-yard touchdowns, as Jonathan Taylor did, and the way he's running with power, running with vision, running with top-end speed, there's something to that. So if you want to make the MVP case, this would be the game that you lean on because it wasn't the finest showing for the passing attack in this one.
No, it wasn't. Daniel Jones didn't have the best game at all. Now, the problem is it came against the Falcons defense, who are just confusing, right? They've made Josh Allen look terrible this year in a game. You're like, well, is that what they're capable of? Is this what we're dealing with here, that this Falcons defense is so good that it can turn any quarterback into a rough outing? Or are they the defense that didn't do anything against much lesser competition? Like, it's hard to know what the level set is for that. But, this is multiple games where Daniel Jones has not looked amazing, but you have a Jonathan Taylor who can pick up the slack. You have Alec Pierce, who's inevitable. At some point, Alec Pierce is going to have a bomb for a touchdown. This one, I think it was only 30.
Only 37, Sam.
But 5 more for being in the end zone. Like it was halfway
42
in the end
air
zone.
yards
Yeah.
of ball travel
So
from the line of scrimmage. Yeah.
42, we'll call it a low-end Alec Pierce, but more than the 37 that it gets listed as.
Yeah, it was kind of a jump ball into double coverage. Pierce makes the play that put the Colts up early. Daniel Jones finishes 19 of 26 for 255, a touchdown and a pick, 100 passer rating. The interception was right before the half. I think the troubling number.
Weird interception.
It was. I don't know if he was expecting something different from the receiver, but it was well underthrown. Didn't really hurt them. It was right before the half, and they may have had a chance to kick a field goal at the end of the half. But took a potential points off the board.
Yes.
I think the concerning part is the 7 sacks for Daniel Jones. And then the fact that he fumbled 3 times for the second straight week. So he's now fumbled 6 times
and they were,
in 2 weeks.
They were old school Daniel Jonesian plays where it's
Right.
like the one of them in particular where it's like he knows that guy's free. Like it's a free rusher.
James
It's
Pierce.
it's a screen. It's a busted play. Somebody jumps all over the screen. Jones knows the free guy is there, and he sort of drifts away from it, and then just doesn't do anything with
Double
it.
pumped instead of killing it.
Right.
He could have killed the screen.
Could have killed it. Could have thrown it away. Had to get rid of the ball. Knew he had to get rid of the ball, and instead held onto it and caused a sack. I mean, that's a play Daniel Jones made all the time with the Giants, and you're like, Daniel Jones makes a bad offensive line worse. Now, the Colts don't have a bad offensive line, but that's a play that typifies, like, if you have a bad offensive line, Jones is going to cause those plays, which make it even worse, and suddenly you've got this disaster in your hands. The Colts don't have that, but that's a Daniel Jones play that hasn't gone away just because he's now with a better situation. Like, those were problematic plays.
I went through all 7 sacks because I think it's worthwhile, right? We're talking about an 8-2 team here, and can the Colts keep it up? I think high level, the fact that they get the win, and look, they're that good offensively that the quarterback can play a less than stellar game, and they can still put points.
And they put up 500 yards, so it's not like they got nothing.
I'm just telling you, if the standard is, it's the same conversation as the Broncos. They're on a bye now, and their next game's against the Chiefs in 2 weeks. That's supposed to be their big test, right? Everybody's playing their Super Bowl against the Chiefs. Broncos, Colts coming up here. Got to beat Kansas City. Got to prove that you belong. Got to play better, I would say, at the quarterback position. But there was early on, he's scrambling, he fumbles along the sideline on one of the sacks. But I'm going to make this statement too. Like, the offensive line, pass pro wise, was fine.
Yeah.
In a 7-sack game, right? So this is what we're saying. Jonathan Taylor got beat for a sack. That's not the offensive line. That was a clean win up front. I would say that led to a sack for Daniel Jones. Then he started drifting a little bit, right? He got strip sacked by Jalen Walker, and he drifted back to about 11 yards. When you do that, you lose leverage on the tackles. Started to get a little happy in the pocket and moving around, and that would be my concern right now for Daniel Jones, plus the screen one that you talked about that he didn't bury.
The offensive line right now has been charged for 2 pressures. They basically pitched a shutout, and Daniel Jones was sacked 7 times.
I'm giving you the answer. I'm giving you what happened here. A blitz on a screen. That's not on the offensive line. That's on Jones. He stepped through and lost 2 yards on 3rd and 10. Everybody was covered. It was kind of a coverage sack, so not really on the line. There was another one where everything was covered down the field in man coverage against a blitz, and he didn't really have an outlet, so he, happy feet and drifted. He didn't throw it away. One was fake. It was just like a broken play. I don't know what exactly happened, and Jones just falls over. So, look, I'm not saying he was awful. He made some big throws. He had a huge throw to Tyler Warren.
Beautiful pass.
In overtime. I'm not saying it was
catch, by the way. There's a lot of time, like some of the passes, or some of the catches, rather, that a lot of announcers try and make seem are incredibly difficult. Actually, they're not that bad. It's other ones that are more problematic. The one that Tyler Warren caught on that deep, or on that dime that Daniel Jones threw, that's exceptionally difficult. It's coming at like this weird 45-degree angle over his head, and he just sort of sticks out the hands and plucks it out of the sky. Absurdly hard catch on the run, and he just made it like it was nothing.
He's so smooth, man. I think he makes a lot of things look easy. He had another long catch and run on a screen, like the weekly deal. Tyler Warren is an absolute difference maker. He had 8 catches for 99 yards. And again, this is what I'm saying. Like, I'm not trying to pick on Daniel Jones. I'm just bringing the reality of the last 2 weeks here. The actual turnovers, the almost turnovers, those things are significant, and it's something you got to clean up. It cost them the game against Pittsburgh, and that's the type of stuff you got to clean up. But they're 8-2, right? You're sitting here with the best record in the AFC. Jonathan Taylor was outstanding, explosive runs left and right, including that 83-yarder and 3 touchdowns. And then from a Falcons perspective, it's a tough one, man. Tough one, right? You're facing one of the better teams in the league. You take them to overtime. I thought Penix, his accuracy is just so scattershot.
Yeah.
Missed a couple throws in overtime by a mile. Almost to the point where, like, the second one, I thought he got his arm hit or something, threw it like 3 yards out of bounds. Just very inconsistent with the pass game in Michael Penix right now.
Yeah, and the thing is, as much as this was close, obviously it went to overtime, and the Falcons had opportunities, they kind of, it wasn't as close as it looked. You know what I mean? Like it was, but only because of weird high leverage plays that went the Falcons' way. Like they held the Colts on a 4th and 2, where the Colts did that thing of like, was it 4th and 2 or 4th and short? It's like you do the pitch play to the side, and it always feels bad. Like it's 4th and 2, just.
It's one of those, if you miss one block,
you're
in
dead.
trouble. There's other runs where if you miss one block, you could still survive.
Right.
Once you put the ball on the edge, if you miss one out of, say, 3 significant blocks, you're in trouble.
Everyone's flowing that way. So if one guy doesn't make the block on the move, right, which is, hard to begin with, it's dead. And that's exactly what happened. So they had a bunch of plays where they had the high leverage stuff to get it that far. It only made it as far as overtime because Michael Badgley missed an extra point and a field goal. So that's 4 points that the Colts should have had that they didn't. Because, extra point should be routine. He also missed short from 53 yards. Like that should be a gimme as well.
Right.
So there's 4 points that weren't on the board for the Colts that should have been. It's hard because some things were good from the Falcons' perspective. Their rookie edge rushers did it again the other way around this time. James Pierce got the pressure or got the sack, and Jalen Walker scooped it up. It was the other way around the other day. Brandon Dorlus had a 3rd down sack in the red zone. So their young defensive linemen are making plays, this sort of youth movement they've had up front. Drake London looked fantastic. You had this interesting Drake London-Sauce Gardner matchup, which only showed up every now and again because they don't track into the slot. Drake London will line up in the slot sometimes. But you have
Sauce on a two-point
conversion.
Yeah.
Absolutely roasted him. Sauce fell over. You also had a really interesting example of there was a play early in the game where Drake London slips over. It felt like a forced throw anyway, and Sauce drops an interception. It's like, I think a big part of his lack of interceptions is how much man coverage he's played. But that's a play you got to make. That's zone coverage. You had to beat on it the whole way. You broke on it. The guy fell over, so he didn't even challenge you for it, and you just dropped it.
And just to be clear for those who aren't following, usually when you're in man coverage, you don't have eyes on the ball, and you're more likely to have pass breakups than interceptions.
Right.
But like you're saying, it's not like...
But zone, generally, your eyes are on the quarterback the whole way. You're looking at the ball.
Right.
You got to catch those, and that was one you got to catch.
If you want to compare him to the guy that was drafted right next to him, Derek Stingley.
Yeah.
Stingley's
one-handed snag.
Yeah, he has incredible ball skills. Maybe Sauce doesn't, but Sauce does break up a ton of passes. So
the other, there's also that drop by Darnell Mooney late in the game where the Falcons are trying to.
Yeah, that hurts too. So that's how I would sum up the Falcons. We've been doing this over 10 years, and a lot of times we view the game through this player by player, and you want to explain what went right or what went wrong, and you say, well, this player played well, and this thing went right for the team. I think the thing that sums up the Falcons is, Penix gets, strip sacked early on after a drop from Kyle Pitts. Like one of Penix's best throws was the deep crosser to Kyle Pitts very early in the game, puts it right on his hands. Pitts is having a much better season than we've seen. He drops it, and then Penix is strip sacked by Cameron Bynum, and that leads to 7-0, right? So a lot of times what's going wrong with a team, sometimes it's just stacking 2 plays in a row where it's like you screwed up with a drop and then you screwed up with a blitz pickup, right? And one's kind of one Penix has a good play, the next one he has a bad play and he gets strip sacked. So it's not always like, well, all the offense is bad or all the offensive line is bad. And then he has a really nice throw to Mooney. He drops it. Then you get into overtime. Mooney's got 5-10 yards of separation, and Penix is burying it on a deep out, right? So to me, it's just like it's a cop-out to say inconsistency. But a lot of times you describe bad offenses by saying one guy's screwing up on every play.
Yeah.
And it's a different guy. And I think that's one way that you sum up some of the Falcons' struggles over these last few weeks.
This was really interesting, though, because as much as I think the Falcons were a little bit fortunate for it to get as close as it did or to be in the game at that point, when the Colts kicked their field goal to tie it up late in the game, there was still 29 seconds on the clock. And you're like, in this world of field goals from the moon, that's an eternity.
And that's when Mooney...
So then they kick it off. They kick it inbounds to try and, burn some time. Laquan Treadwell, of all people, makes a genuinely impressive special teams tackle to stop what I think would have been a pretty significant return if he hadn't made that tackle. So huge respect to Treadwell. I mean, a former, high first-round wide receiver bust, effectively, still hanging around, elevated to the practice squad, makes a critical special teams tackle to start that drive at the Atlanta 26. That could have been 10, 15, 20 more yards if he doesn't make that tackle. So now you got 25 seconds on the clock. First down from the Atlanta 26 is whatever that was, like a 15-yard pass to Darnell Mooney, who's looking to catch and run and instead doesn't make the catch. Like,
paddle-handed style.
Yeah, starts running before he's actually caught it, drops it. If he makes that catch, I mean, you're immediately talking at the 40. Now you're only going to make it 10 yards to even have a vague prayer at a field goal, maybe 15, whatever. And then the next play, second down, it's an incomplete pass. He's under pressure. It's intentional grounding, and that's basically it done. They then, they have that weirdness of, well, it's 10-second runoff, run the clock, blah, blah, blah. But they had a shot. Like that 30 seconds from your own 26 is doable in terms of getting a chance to win this game, and they made a total mess out of it for 2 plays.
I would say that's one thing the Falcons have done a poor job of this season generally is off the top of my head, end of half. Like they had one half where they just had a catch in bounds maybe back in week 3 or 4, just clock ran out on them. Last week against New England, they were on New England's side of the field. Before you know it, it's 3rd and 20, and they're punting on 4th and 20, giving the ball back to New England, who ran out the clock. There's some teams who have done a really nice job at the end of halves, and it feels like the Falcons have done a poor job. Again, I don't think it's one thing. They have open receivers that they're missing. They have open receivers who are dropping it. They have some procedural stuff, and it's all adding up, and that's just playing losing football at the end of the day, and that's why they're 3-6.
What did you make of the volume of Hitler references in the broadcast?
I was unable to listen to a lot of the broadcast. I was volume down. I didn't know that there were. Well, I heard a bunch of they were going back talking about Jesse Owens in the Olympics and everything.
Yeah, I think we got up to 3 direct references to Hitler, which has to be a record for an NFL game. There's no way we've passed that in a different game. It's a weird thing where it's like,
Where's Josh Dubow on this? Can we get an AP count here?
Per Elias.
Elias, can we dig this up, please?
I've seen quite a lot of games played in that stadium. Now, admittedly, this is the first time the NFL has been there, so there's got to be, I guess, some kind of
That's not the
history.
norm. They're like, hey, let me tell you what happened in the late 30s.
I honestly don't remember, hey, look at them score a goal into the end where Hitler was watching Jesse Owens back in the day. Like, what are we talking? Okay, I kind of get that you probably have to bring it up once, but it felt like we were leaning into that quite a lot, more than was necessary.
Because I caught the audio in the first quarter and a half, then I watched on silence for a bit, and I did catch some of the early references. It didn't stand out to me like it did to you. But
remember, what's that famous clip where is it Tom Brenneman who was giving his apology and then just mid apologies so the guy hits felt like the whole thing was that. Where it's like, there's a run by Jonathan Taylor right into the end where Hitler was sitting there with the Third Reich, and what are we? I don't know. Anyway, because they that's a stadium that's been in use for the entire time. Like Hertha Berlin plays there. I think the German national team is plays there sometimes. It's like, I don't remember this being a thing every time. Maybe it's just when the USA plays, I don't know if the USMNT or whatever they call it has played Germany in that stadium.
See what Elias comes back with here when we
get
some.
Sure Josh is working on it right
now. So the Colts, they head to their bye and come back with so Atlanta does not have a bye, which is interesting, right? Am I getting this right? Colts head to their bye. They've got the Chiefs coming out of that. So, again, they've got 2 weeks to prepare for probably their biggest litmus test game. It's everybody's Super Bowl playing the Chiefs. The Falcons do have to come back next week and play the Panthers. So they're coming on. They're 3-6, coming off of a couple heartbreakers, like some close losses against good Patriots and good Colts teams. And now they got to play this 5-5 confusing Panthers team that already waxed them 31-0 in Carolina. Atlanta's running out of time to rectify the season.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go. New England Patriots and Tampa Bay Bucks. This was a fun game. Patriots get the win to move to 8-2. They're 28-23 over the Bucks. Bucks fall to 6-3. New England now tied with the Colts and Broncos, as we always knew. Colts, Broncos, Patriots all tied with 8-2 records atop the AFC.
It was wild. Baltimore with their terrible start, Buffalo, Kansas City, all dropping games that they weren't expected to, and all of a sudden the number one race is three teams, at least two of which nobody really saw coming.
And this was, for New England, this was the next test. We said, okay, you beat Buffalo on Sunday Night Football. You beat up on some bad teams, which was great. Like that was an important test in a league where every week Buffalo just dropped one to Miami, right? Every week it's like, what happened? Packers lose to the Panthers. There are confusing 10-point favorites losing, and New England took care of business all across the last 4 weeks or so. And now they go to Tampa Bay. It's a road game against a division leader in Tampa Bay, and New England, answered it. They did a great job to pull off the win.
2 big tests. So it's a road game against a good opponent in Tampa Bay. 3 actually. With the Todd Bowles defense, it's going to blitz you and cause you kind of some problems. And it was raining. So 3 separate tests in the one game for Drake May and the offense. And again they answered. Like early, this was not remember Drake May's been setting these historical crazy completion percentage numbers over the course of this season. This was not one of those games. 16 of 31. And certainly early, there were a bunch of passes that seemed to come out of his hand weird. It was like, I don't know if maybe he can't throw in the rain. And then, they won largely because of explosive plays from Travion Henderson and then Kyle Williams as well. Matt Collins had one. But, Drake May made some big plays when they needed to.
Yeah, he did miss some throws early on. The Kyle Williams one, that was a 72-yard touchdown. Kyle Williams' only catch in this game. Incredible throw by May.
Right.
He's getting hit. It was like a 15-yard handoff, put it right on his hands to catch and run, and then great speed by Kyle Williams to turn it into a 72-yarder. And then, of course, later on they get a 55-yard touchdown from Travion Henderson, and then what almost sealed the game, 69-yard touchdown from Travion Henderson. The stat that I pulled out last night from NFL Plus, the second time in NFL history that there were 3 rookie offensive touchdowns of 50-plus yards, whatever the cutoff was.
50.
And the only other time it was just Randy Moss.
On his own.
Getting all 3 of those 50-plus yard scores on Thanksgiving, 1998. What a game. Where were you? Were you watching that game live? Thanksgiving 98, the Moss game?
I remember where it was. But also on 3 plays.
Moss just did it on 3 catches.
3 50-yard plays. Yeah.
And one was like a little smokescreen.
Yes,
it was amazing.
where you just outrun the entire defense.
So it took both Kyle Williams and Travion Henderson to match the Moss record. But yeah, you had been calling for that, right? A little bit more Travion, a little bit more
everybody
Kyle
has.
Williams.
In particular, Travion Henderson. But everybody's been calling for this all season long. And, somebody made the point on Twitter yesterday. It's like, yeah, the 8-2 Patriots really need to, mix it up more from what they've been doing. It's like, yeah, but look, everybody from basically day one has been saying Travion Henderson is quite clearly their most explosive running back and capable of these big plays all over the place. Why is he not playing more? And even when Stevenson goes down or isn't there, it's like, oh, let's find a way of splitting with Jennings in the backfield instead. Like, why not just give Travion Henderson by far the lion's share of the workload and watch him go off for 10.5 yards per carry? Could we not do that? And then Kyle Williams, like, okay, the receiving core has actually been doing a pretty good job. Stephon Diggs made some really nice plays in here. Pop Douglas has been a monster this season. Kayshon Boutte has been making nice plays. But you're telling me we can't find anything for Kyle Williams who's capable of doing this kind of thing regularly? Like, more regularly if you actually gave him some opportunities. I feel like there's some extra that we could add to this offense if we just incorporated these guys more, who just months ago you liked enough to draft them, in the second and, on day 2.
I don't think they've really needed him the way Boutte was playing. Boutte's hurt, and Kyle Williams took advantage of the opportunity. Mac Hollins took advantage of the opportunity. So some interesting stuff in this game. There was the Kyle Williams touchdown. Then it's 10-7 Bucs, and you get to the end of the half. There's about 2 minutes left. Patriots have the ball at the 1, and they essentially take a knee. I was watching, I don't want to say what I was watching, a super secret broadcast on, whatever. I was like, man, that's a bad QB. At first, I was like, that's a bad QB sneak.
Yeah, they burned it down, basically.
And so they purposely just did a bad sneak. It wasn't a knee, but it was a bad sneak to make sure that they didn't lose yardage, but they ran clock.
Yeah.
And it was an impressive job by Mike Vrabel and Stretch his clock management guy, to essentially say, we're going to make sure that we score, that the Bucs don't get another chance here.
Yeah. Well, it was impressive only
but they thread the needle to get there.
Yes. It was impressive only because they eventually got in. It made things awkward because they basically burn it down. And then it's like, we want to take the time off the clock so that Tampa Bay can't answer. But that relies on actually scoring at some point, But then they don't get in on 2nd and 1. They don't get in on 3rd and 1. So now you're facing 4th and 1. You let the clock go all the way down to chew, okay, it's us scoring or nothing. You let the clock run all the way down. And now you need to make the decision. Do we think, okay, we fail on 2nd and 1, we fail on 3rd and 1. Do we bank that we can actually convert on 4th and 1, or do we just kick the field goal and rue the fact that we didn't score to begin with and let them answer? Because, if you score the touchdown on the first play, and even if they answer with a field goal, you're still net 4, right? As opposed to net 3 if you just kick the field goal. Right. So it had the chance to be a disaster, but then they go for it on 4th down. That's the spectacular Stephon Diggs touchdown, amazing toe tap, get both of them in at the back of the end zone or the corner of the end zone, and they kick the point and everything's good. But it was ballsy, and they ended up they needed the second part of the ballsy decision to make it work, make it correct, I guess.
I thought it was an interesting play call too. You hear this a lot of times on broadcast. It's like, oh, they stole this play from the team that they just played. I don't know that that's exactly the case, but the previous week, the Falcons did a really nice job. They took Drake London. They would motion him in on the goal line and then get him isolated on Marcus Jones, so they were dictating matchups. New England did something similar where they motioned Diggs in.
Only instead of 6'5", right, contested catch savant, it's just Stephon Diggs.
But it's just Diggs, but it's his ball skills up against a safety. They got him isolated on Antoine Winfield, which is still a mismatch.
When that ball was in the air, I thought they'd missed it. I thought they screwed it up. They went for the shot. They went for that kind of low percentage over the top, touch pass, and Diggs is not going to be able to get that in. And then he manages to get both feet toe tap down. Spectacular play by him. But that felt like that's a risky call in that situation where you're going to look like an idiot if you screw that up.
Then the whole end of game sequence, you have New England's up 21-16. They have 3rd and 14. And this is where, look, Drake London in this MVP conversation, in this race or whatever, makes a play where it's like, all right, that's why he's in this conversation. 3rd and 14, drops an absolute dime to Mac Hollins for 50-plus yards down the sideline, which theoretically gives New England a chance to go up 2 scores to seal the game. And it goes from this MVP moment to the next 3rd down, 3rd and goal, throws an interception in the end zone. Great diving pick by Tyke Smith in the end zone. So bit of that
was a game-saving play.
It really was.
Tyke Smith.
Yeah, it really was.
Then it would have been really game over, I think, effectively.
So Drake goes for, it was just a clutch, beautiful throw to Mac Hollins, and then just an ill-advised decision in the red zone. Obviously, they ended up getting the win, but roller coaster there. And that kept it within 5 for Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
But the Patriots made a huge stop. So the other play on 4th down when they were, the Bucs were driving in Patriots territory, and the Patriots defense really stepped up, and they have 3rd and 3. They hit, I think it was Otten over the middle, hit him hard to break up a pass, and then on 4th down, they come after Baker Mayfield with pressure. Did you see how? I don't know how he came out of that. The announcers are in the middle saying Baker's sacked. It's 4th down, and
he's in the grasp, and he just sort of flips it behind him, over his head backwards. And it's in the running back's hands. What?
If New England didn't have a defender just sitting, because they made a tackle, and even Nance was just I don't think it matters. And then they come back to no, that counted as a completion.
Yeah.
So essentially, Baker's getting engulfed by 3 Patriots, and and he disappears from broadcast view, and then he comes stumbling out, flips it over his head, and ends up getting caught and tackled for -1 yard, whatever it was. So the Patriots got the 4th down stop with a great play call, putting pressure on him. I can't believe Baker saved the sack on that. That was a lot of what he was doing early in the season. New England still needed 1 first down to seal it, and that's when they got Trevion Henderson on the toss play, and he was off to the races for 69 yards. And he was so fast. He was so far ahead of everybody that he was looking back to the sideline.
I like that.
Going like this, do I go down? He was calculating his fantasy points and the game script in his head. He probably should have gone down at the 1, But I don't know if someone signaled
I'm sure
him
that's
in time.
what happened. Like, he hadn't done the math in his own head, so he's
Yeah.
like, I don't know if I should go down or try and score. And he's like looking to the sideline, and presumably Vrabel's like, no, score, go for it. And
Yeah.
he takes it in. By the way, the other funny thing was on that play, I mean, Travion Henderson, one of the fastest people on the field. The closest defender to him for a chunk of that run was Vita Vea. And Vita Vea, I think, doesn't even really try and run to Travion Henderson. He takes an angle just to the sideline. He's like, I'm not getting there, so I might as well just run to the sideline and run. Like, expedite my leaving of the field is what I'm going to do here. He just sort of straight line right to the bench.
Just
wasn't even really focusing on Travion.
Just watch Vita on all plays.
So Diggs makes the spectacular touchdown catch. Also is the guy that recovers the onside kick, which actually ended up being, I mean, it was a really good onside kick.
It took really high.
It took the right bounce. It's now way up in the air, going right for the hands guy who's supposed to catch it, which in this case is Diggs, goes up, high points it, brings it down, gets drilled in doing so. Great play by him. I mean, two game-defining type of plays from Diggs.
Yeah, and it only got to that point because Baker Mayfield, had two really nice touchdowns to Tez Johnson. I mean, one when they were still in the game, the other one just to set up the onside kick. Baker fought hard. I think there's a disconnect. There's some inconsistency in the Bucs offense these last few weeks. They're coming off their bye, but pretty much since the last time Evans went down, just not the same kind of magic that they had early in the season.
Yeah, and yet, I mean, so none of their established receivers that everyone thought was going to be the receiving core coming into this year, like the top three guys. Obviously, Ibuka, they draft in the first, so he was going to be a big part of it as well. But no Mike Evans, no Chris Godwin, no McMillan. So your receiving core is the rookie, Cade Otton, who, according to Tony Romo, was just an auxiliary offensive lineman up until this week. Tez Johnson, this low-round, tiny receiver who weighs $140 or whatever, and then Baker's college roommate, Sterling Shepard, who's out there roasting somebody, I forget, during the game. But, despite that, I mean, that receiving core is really good somehow still. Like, they're without the three guys that were supposed to top the depth chart, and it's still a really good receiving core.
Yeah, it is. You got to take your Tony Romo shots, huh?
He's just bad at this point. I mean, Tony Romo he became flavor of the month because when he first took the job, he's fresh out of being an NFL quarterback where he spent his entire life studying, and so was able to accurately predict what every team is doing. Now,
I don't even think he was studying. I think he was just reading the safety leverage, and it's when the safety
that's
drops
what I
here,
mean.
we run weak.
He had done a ton of study, so he was able to sort of accurately predict a lot of what was happening based off what he knew from a decade plus of actually working at the game. Now he just golfs with Jim Nantz or whatever, so he doesn't do any of that, and there's no insight to anything he's bringing, and you just get weird noises and him taking over play-by-play for half the game, and I just don't think
he's good at the game flow stuff. He's good at the clock. He's got a good feel for that because you don't have to study. It's just reactive. He's good at that. Here's how many timeouts they have. Here's what the one thing he was in the Travion 69-yard touchdown, the second long touchdown. He was in the middle of being like, I don't really love it. Oh, no, I do love it. He goes from.
Yeah, he's just got all these. He's just like a vibes guy at the moment. Again, I don't want to make this into a Greg Olson appreciation show or anything, but the idea that Greg Olson is sitting there as a number 2 announcer or a number 2 or color guy while Tom Brady steals his job and gets paid $38 million a year or whatever for it, and Tony Romo is the alpha guy for CBS. Greg Olson is so much better than either of those guys. It's unbelievable.
He's breaking down QB bash and weak ISO and the lead block by Cole Kmet. We'll get there. Anyway, big win for New England, moving to 8-2, passing that test. The Bucs, still sitting atop the NFC South. Would have been interesting if Carolina could have beaten the Saints. Right?
Yeah.
Carolina would have been within a half game of the Bucs.
Right.
And they still have to play each other twice. Tampa Bay still has to take care of business against the Panthers this season. So it doesn't really hurt them a ton in the long run. AFC game, but it was a good test for both teams. Bucs have the Bills next week. They go to Buffalo, so another You're facing both of the top AFC East teams over the next 2 weeks in a row here.
Yeah, I don't think any of this is damaging for Tampa Bay, except in terms of if they don't beat these teams, Buffalo, New England, et cetera, you end up sort of back where they've been for the last couple of years. Like their sort of quest this season was to prove that they could take a step forward and go from good to great, or good to legit contender. If they then, these are the types of teams you need to beat at some point if you want to make that step. And if you don't, then you're probably still, we can win the division, but then we're going to run up against these good teams, and can we beat them?
Last thing, on the Drake May discussion, stat line-wise, he goes 16 of 31. So it's only 52% completions, but for 270 because of the 54-yarder and a 72-yarder in there, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. So the passer rating was only 89.4. But he only sacked one time for negative, just lost 1 yard on the 1 sack. And for, coming off of games, even some of his better games where he was getting sacked 4, 5, 6 times, that feels like a bit of a win. Not saying you just want to miss, because he missed some throws. It wasn't like he was saving. He saved a few sacks, but it wasn't like he was saving a bunch of sacks, and that's why his completion percentage was lower. But you could easily look at the completion percentage and say, oh man, rough one for May. But he didn't take those negative plays against the Bulls defense, as you said.
Yeah.
So again, New England, they're doing a great job pass protecting up front.
He wasn't even under pressure much.
Yeah, and I'm saying, like, this is the type of game from May. Yeah, you'd rather see him hit a few more throws, but not taking the sacks, the negative plays, getting rid of the ball, and at least being decisive. That almost feels like progress compared to what we had seen over the last couple weeks in that part of his game. Mm-hmm. And then he had just some spectacular throws in there. The Mac Hollins one, he had a 3rd and 7 where he was navigating the pocket, found a receiver over the middle, and the Kyle Williams 15-yard handoff that turned into a 72-yarder. So May continues to play, I would say, at a high level for New England. And if they can get Trevion going, that's what made him special at Ohio State. The 2 long runs, they've got something there because the run game's been hit or miss throughout the season for the Patriots.
Yep.
All right, man. Let's quick break to talk about our friends over at IM8. Got my drink right here. Hard to keep up with every NFL game. Lose track of sleep. We go live right here, 7 a.m. every Monday. Hard to keep those energy levels up, but that's where IM8's daily ultimate essentials come in. It's a daily all-in-one wellness drink that gives my body the support it needs without juggling a bunch of different supplements. Co-founded by David Beckham and crafted with insights from experts at Mayo Clinic, Cedars-Sinai, and a former NASA chief scientist, it simplifies your wellness routine and makes it easier to support your health. The drink is loaded with the 92 nutrient-rich ingredients and is designed to help you feel good from the inside out. You'll see me drinking it throughout the show.
Yeah.
My IM8.
And a dramatically better taste than some supplement companies that shall remain nameless.
Oh, wow. You went and did that, huh? Mm-hmm. What makes IM8 stand out is how it combines science with nature. They use effective ingredients and back them with research. Plus, it's been through clinical trials where 95% of participants felt more energetic and 85% said their digestion improved. It's vegan, gluten-free, and non-GMO. It's also NSF certified, which means all the ingredients are third-party tested for purity. You can feel confident about what you're putting into your body, making it a solid choice if you're focused on your health. So the NSF certified, by the way, Sam, that was the tag when I was playing in the minors.
Yeah.
That was the tag. If something was NSF certified,
and then you were good to go?
You were good to go. If you ever tested positive and you said, no, NSF certified, you wouldn't test positive because it was NSF certified, but it was like, I felt good. I only took stuff. I was worried about that.
Yeah.
You can't just go to GNC and grab anything.
Right.
I was worried about that NSF label. And IM8, they have that. So feel your best self every day with IM8. Go to im8health.com/CTM and use code CTM for a free welcome kit, 5 free travel sachets, plus 10% off your order. That's IM8, HEALTH.com/CTM, code CTM for a free welcome kit, 5 free travel sachets, plus 10% off your order, im8health.com/CTM, code CTM. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. All right, we're on to the other AFC East matchup. The other team at the top, the Buffalo Bills, losing to the Miami Dolphins, 30-13. Dolphins move to 3-7. Bills fall to 6-3, coming off their big win against the Chiefs, and Dolphins took it to them in this one.
Yeah, I mean, not just losing, but getting fairly handily whooped. I mean, what? This makes no sense.
So I'm a little torn on handily whooped. I think it was the turnovers again, man.
But
Look,
like,
there's problems with the Bills' offense in this one.
Yeah.
There's problems, stopping Miami's offense and giving up big plays. Certainly, before. I mean, my take on this was before Devin Achane, really ran away with it at the end. But every time Buffalo, because they're down 16-0, it felt like they were playing a little tight, right? Margin for error is getting a little bit tighter. But every time they started moving the ball, they turned it over. Red zone interception by Josh Allen. I would call that unforced. Just missed a throw.
It was, yeah.
Just missed a throw in the end zone. That's on the Bills.
Like I couldn't tell if it was a miscommunication of some kind because it was a bad throw. He was well off and threw it right to a guy.
You have James Cook fumbling. You have Josh Allen fumbling.
Yep.
And so
on like a sneak, they run like a tush push play.
Yeah.
And then so they run a tush push play. It gets through the line, and he's like rumbling for 20 yards as part of this convoy. And then suddenly, was it Minka? No, Minka recovered it. Somebody comes in, punches the ball out, and it's loose. It's like, yeah, every
probably
time.
Jordan Brooks, because he was just flying around making plays, high energy Jordan Brooks.
My point being, the score ends up 30-13, and it's not. I mean, that's not an unreasonable score for this game. Miami jumped out to like a 2-touchdown lead right away, and Buffalo never really pegged it back. Every time they threatened to do that, they would then screw something up and fall back behind again. And, I mean, they never really looked likely to execute this comeback.
That's what – well, it depends on how you view it. I'm viewing it as they started to move the ball. Like, were there issues with Buffalo's offense? Yes. Did they had some ugly third down plays. They needed to rely on one or two superhuman Josh Allen third down conversions. It's not clean. They were coming off of a clean game against the Chiefs. It was like, we're going to run it, and if we only pick up 2, okay, we got play action, we're going to get those yards back. And then they're going to run it with James Cook, and he's going to pick up 8, and then he's going to pick up 10. Like, they had such a clean, on-schedule game against the Chiefs last week. Had all the answers for Spags. You made the point. They exploited their linebackers, the underneath coverage. They're uniquely set up to attack Kansas City's defense with their yak monsters, Khalil Shakir and Dalton Kincaid and James Cook and their other backs. Like they're set up to beat them, and they executed it perfectly. And this game just felt more disjointed from Buffalo's perspective. And again, credit Miami. Like a few times over these last few weeks, they've played hard. I think outplayed Atlanta a couple weeks ago, played hard against Baltimore in the Thursday night game last week, and obviously played hard and made it competitive here. But Buffalo was just disjointed. But they still started to move the ball. And every time they started to move the ball, it was the turnovers. And I'm not saying they would have won if you take away 3 turnovers, but it's one of those, I don't think it's as bad as the scoreboard shows, but it's going to feel pretty bad if you're a Bills fan this morning thinking, hey, not only did you beat the Chiefs again, you did it, I think, in pretty emphatic fashion, and now you kind of lay an egg against Miami, which you did against Atlanta just about a month ago, right?
Yeah.
And now it's the inconsistency. And I'll just say this. If New England wasn't doing what they're doing right now, you would just – like the Bills have played these games before in the past. They have had just a dud of a game. Texans last year, they lost to Urban Meyer's Jags in one of their big seasons, 9-6. Like, they've played this game before, but it probably feels worse because, yeah, they're 6-3, and when it happened before, it's like, great, we still have a 2, 3, 4 game lead in the AFC East. You don't have that anymore, so the margin for error for Buffalo is not the same as it's been in the past.
Yeah, it's not. And I guess, if you're looking at their season and you're like 3 defeats, one of whom is to New England, and they look really good. So that's sort of less embarrassing at this point. One of them is Atlanta, and they're inconsistent, but they're at least capable of those suffocating defensive performances, and that looks okay. This is the first one where you're like, okay, this is a problem. Like, Miami stinks. You should be able to beat Miami comfortably. And it's not even that, okay, yeah, Buffalo, a lot of it was their own mistakes and turnovers and stuff. It's not like Miami played a clean game either. Like, this isn't one where Miami showed up and they were perfect for the first time this season, and Buffalo made a bunch of mistakes, and then you're like, well, okay, if you're going to make those kinds of mistakes and they don't make any, you're in trouble. Like, Miami turned the ball over a couple of times. They screwed up on 4th down, when Buffalo was trying to keep a drive alive. Like,
Fair.
Miami made mistakes in this game as well, and still won handily. Usually when I bring Dr. John Monson's takes to the show, it's on a medical perspective. But would you like to hear his take on the Buffalo Bills?
Absolutely.
As someone who used to live in close proximity to Buffalo. So he says, I didn't see the game, but what on earth happened in Miami? I gave him my initial take. Ridiculous. Classic behavior of losers. Reminds me of Manchester United in the 80s. They would beat Liverpool and then lose to Oxford United. So there you go.
Good old
This
OU.
is just 80s Manchester United before they became good.
Does your dad watch any football?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
My dad texts me at 1 p.m. every week. He just says, Pats. He'll just send me like one-word text all the time.
His opinion is this is indicative of a loser mentality that permeates Buffalo still.
Interesting.
Can't win a Super Bowl, can't even win the big one. Can't even win the one that you're supposed to win. Sorry, win the big one in the regular season and then lose to the team. The classic trap game thing.
The classic trap game. And we at least acknowledged that on the Thursday show. It wasn't enough for me, to draw me away from picking Buffalo as my lock of the week. My lock of the week's lost by about 30 the last 2 weeks. Don't make me pick a lock of the week anymore, please.
Lock of the week's like 1-8.
Don't worry about it. It's still better than Ari.
Might not be anymore.
Might not be. Look, and then, credit Miami. A couple other interesting dynamics at play here, but
At least parts of Miami.
Credit.
Devon Achane is spectacular and has been all the way through the season. Bradley Chubb was a beast in this game. I mean, it's not like all of Miami's defensive front has got themselves together in recent weeks, but Bradley Chubb was a real force in this game.
But overall, their defensive tackles haven't been as bad as they were early in the season, where they were just getting moved off the ball 8 and 9 yards. Like, that's been better. That's the thing about Miami. I never really liked them as a team coming into the season, but I didn't hate them enough, as bad. Like, I hate them as badly as they looked for a lot of the time. So that's the question with the Dolphins is, will they ever play up to their potential? Because they do have some talent in the defensive front that we've said all season. And then from an offensive playmaker standpoint, they have Jalen Waddle and they have Devon Achane. And that's the other interesting dynamic this week was the story that came out that the Bills were trying to trade for Jalen Waddle, and they offered a 2027 first-round pick.
And Quinnen Williams. Those are apparently the two targets that were
going
intra-divisional, which – so on the one hand, it's like, okay, respect for big game hunting in Quinnen Williams and Jalen Waddle. Fascinating for two different reasons. Quinnen Williams, makes perfect sense to try and, add to that defensive line that suddenly got pretty banged up and would be a huge upgrade for them now. Jalen Waddle, it's on the one hand, it's an acknowledgement that, we could actually use some wide receiver help. On the other hand, I couldn't come up with a player that better suits the guys you already have in the building. Let's add another. Brandon Beane just sees the X wide receiver in everybody. You know what? We're going to unlock his inner X wide receiver, as opposed to, is Jalen Waddle dramatically different from the other 17 options we have to man the slot? But the other part of this
but he's a vertical threat at least. They don't have verticality to this offense other than they hit the long Keon Coleman back shoulder with yak, which is rare, right? They hit one downfield shot to Keon Coleman. They wanted a vertical threat and some speed to this offense, which I think they do need.
Yeah, but the other part of this is, is that a serious thing? Okay, kudos for having for really going after the big names. On the other hand, they're both in your division. You're not going to get neither one of those teams is going to trade one of their better players to Buffalo. So, do you even deserve credit for picking up that phone and asking at that point? Because the answer is no, obviously.
Was it Brandon who was saying who said all the young GMs are playing fantasy? They came up playing fantasy football, so they make more trades?
I don't know.
Was that Brandon? It was one of the GMs who said that.
I don't know.
He was trying.
Yeah,
I think that's trying.
I don't know. That's one of those ones where it's are you actually trying, or are you just trying to be seen to be trying? Because those are immediate no's from both teams, and almost certainly you're not. They're just not going to make that trade.
So the report was that Miami wanted a 2026 first rounder, not the 27 first rounder. And I think for them, Waddle's a key piece of their rebuild, and I think that makes sense to hold on to him, even though it'd probably be intriguing to get a first round pick there. But I thought that was an interesting storyline because Waddle had the long touchdown in this one. He finished with 84 yards, and of course, Achane, 59-yarder that sealed it in this one.
It is worth at least bringing up, Buffalo fans will want to do this, that, no Michael Hoyt for the Bills because obviously he popped his Achilles last week. No Christian Benford for the Bills. They're already down, multiple other players. They are pretty banged up. I don't think that explains this. I don't think this is down to just, hey, all of a sudden Benford and Hoyt are down, therefore you can get wrecked by Miami.
No, we read off the injury report on Thursday, and a lot of significant players were questionable.
Right.
But I think the question in Buffalo is, Josh Allen, he got sacked 3 times in this game, had the fumble on the sneak, had the bad interception. So I don't want to oversimplify it and say they spent how many straight games did they win the turnover battle? I mean, you're
29, 30, something.
Yeah, and in the 3 losses, the turnovers left and right in the Falcons, Patriots, and now the Dolphins game. Like, is that completely the difference? I mean, not 100%. They lost a lot of other plays besides the turnovers. But for an offense that has lost a lot of the vertical shot plays, like the big-time throws down the field from Josh Allen, those have been suppressed a little bit. It's like unless they play a game like Kansas City where everything's clean, right? They don't put the ball in harm's way. They stay on schedule with the run game. All the underneath passes are open. They take their shots when they're there. Like, just play this really, really clean, pristine game. Like, if you don't do that, are you just playing with fire every week because you don't have the explosives like you once did in the Josh Allen era? So that's where I think Bills fans have a little bit of angst, right? It's the defense, and then the same thing defensively. Like, what did we say last year? Like, man, this defense is kind of getting gashed.
Yeah.
But then they force the turnovers, and you get into the playoffs. Can they keep it going? Well, yeah, they did it, and then they forced 3 turnovers against Lamar. Well, when you face Kansas City, you're not necessarily forcing all those turnovers, but you're still giving up all the yards.
Yeah.
So now if you're so dependent on the turnover battle, it's really tough to control.
There's an inherent fragility to a bend but don't break defense because by definition you are giving up a lot and then you're relying on the fact that eventually you'll stiffen in the red zone or you'll get turnovers, and as long as those things happen, you can give up a ton. But what if they don't happen? And then in the playoffs, you go up against these better teams, and that tends to be when the turnovers don't happen. So, yeah, I think there's a nervousness or a fragility to a defense that does give up that. Plus, again, like for the 3rd, 4th year in a row, Buffalo, the longer we go into the season, the more banged up they're getting. Kincaid went down with a hamstring injury, so that's going to put him out for a while. Like, and again, it's not just you're missing players, you're missing big players. Like the cornerback that changes everything you do on defense, your number one weapon, really, on offense in terms of the pass game, and Kincaid now, like you're missing really important players.
And in the past, it was like, all right, let Allen be Superman here, and you're just not getting as much of that from Allen. Just a tick off, I would say, this year relative to. And look, I've described a few quarterbacks as streaky. Like when they're on a streak, it's tough to compete with them at the very top of the league. Allen is capable of going on a 5-6 game streak where he clearly looks like the best quarterback in the league. That's all, in the cards potentially in the coming weeks. But now it feels like, as they're banged up, they might need that because their margin for error is tighter, right? You've got they're in second place now. They're not the clear favorite to win the division here,
and firmly now behind New England. I mean,
right.
Obviously they've already lost a game to New England, but now they drop multiple games behind them, just
harder
in
schedule,
terms of record, with a harder schedule, and have to play them again. I mean, this is all of a sudden you're looking at this and saying, I mean, I don't know what the odds are yet, but they're probably less likely to win the division than they are to win it, which wouldn't have been the case for most of this year.
For the Dolphins, you get the interim GM bump. Champ Kelly, congrats to Champ. Remember we ran into Champ going to the party last year? That was Champ.
Yeah, cool.
And the other guy that was leading us in to the secret combine party, showing us where to go.
Yeah,
that was interim GM Champ.
Well, there you go.
Congrats.
1-0
to Champ
this time.
Interim GM. Let's go. New Orleans Saints 17, Carolina Panthers 7. Saints get their second win. Tyler Shuck gets the win, his first NFL win as a starter. Panthers fall to 5-5. In this one, Shuck finishes 19 of 27 for 282. It's over 10 yards per attempt, which is, like Sam Darnold's season. 2 touchdowns, 128 passer rating. Some big plays in this game, especially to Chris Olave. Interesting game here, Sam. What'd you make of the Saints-Panthers one?
Yeah, I mean, it felt like Carolina are now becoming one of those teams, right? Like they're 5-5, and their wins and losses don't make any sense. Like they're winning games that they should lose and losing games they should win.
They go to Green Bay and win last week, and at home against the Saints lose.
I mean, just that as a back-to-back is ridiculous. Like Green Bay at that point looked like the best team in the NFL. You go and beat Green Bay in a dogfight, and then lose to the Saints, who look like one of the worst teams in the league, starting a young quarterback who couldn't win the job up until that point. That makes no sense as a back-to-back thing. Rico Dowdle, who'd been carving up everybody in the NFL, like putting up insane totals, ends up with 2.9 yards per attempt. Like you average 3.5 yards per play on offense. It's just a total letdown game by Carolina.
Panthers score a touchdown on their first drive, 12 plays, 47 yards. Then they punt the next 4 possessions. And then in the second half, it was just a disaster of mistakes for the Panthers. Missed a field goal, fumble. After they got the ball back, after the blocked field goal, they get the ball back, and they have like a weekly, if you're watching the Panthers, there's a weekly Jimmy Horn Jr. end around.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Horn Jr. doesn't officially have.
This time he dropped it.
Right. He doesn't have a carry officially in this game because Bryce Young gets the fumble there. I didn't look closely to see who screwed up.
Looked like Jimmy Horn.
The exchange. But it goes down as a Bryce Young turnover, a Bryce Young fumble. But that's in the red zone for the Saints. And then Bryce Young has an awful interception.
Yeah.
That was
what
like.
The hell was that?
It's. I say this a lot every week. Like the throw's so bad, I go back to see was it tipped or was the arm hit, and it was underthrown, and he just did not see the curl flat defender. He just didn't see Alontae Taylor dropping under the.
But that's
deep out.
There are times where it's like, okay, I understand why you didn't see that player. It's still bad. Like he's there the whole way, but I at least understand why you didn't pick him up. This is one where it's like, even if you didn't see it, he has to be there. Like, you can't assume that guy isn't there because otherwise there's just a giant hole. Like,
Most of the time, like, the coverage, you can make an assumption. Well, if they're playing cover 3,
I don't think you can just assume that, like, this guy that I haven't picked up in my periphery is just absent from the picture. Like, he's almost certainly there. It's not, I mean, I guess by that logic, you would never exploit a coverage bust, just assuming there has to be a guy there. But it was such a bad interception, like a real, what on earth is that play?
It was a bad read. I mean, it's just a bad read, bad throw by Bryce Young. And again, I'm not trying to – it's so easy to come in here on Monday morning and just say the team that wins the turnover battle wins the game and win in the red zone. But, like, Carolina's losses have been marred by turnovers and those mistakes. I'm not saying they should be like 8-2 if they just, took care of the ball a couple times. But that was to lose to the Saints, they made a whole bunch of mistakes in the second half. And, credit the Saints for making those plays.
Yeah, but they also had like plays that went their way. This game featured one of the freakiest plays I've ever seen in my life. The Saints blocked a field goal, but it then bounces off the helmet of a Carolina Panthers lineman, goes forward past the line of scrimmage, which makes it effectively a legal punt, like a positive punt. It then touches a Saint, and then some smart Panthers, I should find out who it was, because had the presence of mind to realize that makes it a live ball, dives on it.
It turns into the Leon Lett play.
Dives on it, and then from what was a blocked punt, or a blocked field goal rather, it's actually set a new first down. We get the ball back and let's go again.
And that was right before the Jimmy Horn botched handoff, right? Like,
you then screw it up by giving it back.
Yeah, the blocked field goal play was
I need to find out who dived on that, because that's an insane play to realize that that's a live ball.
And then from a Saints perspective, Tyler Shuck, good job, Hagel. Producer Will. First Saints rookie quarterback to win a game since 1981. Dave Wilson. Trust Hagel that that's true. Tyler Shuck played a good game, man.
Damian Lewis, I think, recovered that ball. So
good for him.
Shout out to Damian Lewis.
Yeah,
Damian Lewis. Yeah.
As far as Shuck's game goes, he had
it also goes down as a muffed punt by Cameron Jordan. It's probably you're not going to see
I saw that in the box.
his entire life. That's probably the first time that's ever happened to him.
It's going to kill his fantasy numbers or something. Get negative fantasy points for that, Cameron Jordan. So you got Chris Olave had an outstanding game.
Yeah, 2 plays that are ridiculous in particular. I mean, he wrecked J.C. Horn in man-to-man coverage on a go route where Horn's actually got him in pretty tight coverage, and then as he's looking for the ball and they start hand fighting at the same time, Chris Olave just sheds him and he falls over, and it's a big play. And then the other one, the ridiculous one-handed catch, just 2 spectacular plays from Chris Olave.
Yeah, the one-handed catch, I thought that was like the play of the game, right? The Saints are up 2 scores, fourth quarter, about 6 minutes left, and Shuck throws. It's a beautiful back shoulder throw by Tyler Shuck, but probably even better catch by Chris Olave. And that was a huge play just to maintain the keep the ball and pretty much run it out at that point if you're the Saints. I thought Shuck missed a couple easy throws. I say easy throws, but underneath throws, little hitches and flats and angle routes. Missed a couple. I thought he had the touchdown to Juwan Johnson, rolling left. Well, not a full roll left, but that was the scouting report on Shuck. When he moves to his left, he makes big plays. That was his entire highlight reel at Louisville. And, he makes that play to Juwan Johnson for a long touchdown. Johnson had a 52-yarder early as well. So I thought there was some really good stuff from Tyler Shuck, but those high leverage plays, right? The long 62-yard touchdown to Olave, the 3rd and 12 where Shuck's moving left and he throws the touchdown to Juwan Johnson, takes advantage of that busted coverage, and then that back shoulder to Olave to all but seal the game. I thought those were all impressive plays from Shuck. And again, second straight week we haven't seen the disastrous play from Shuck. And the people that really liked him at draft time said, runs the offense well, will make some tight window throws, he'll try some stuff. The Olave play, again, it wasn't really open, right? You get credit for a 62-yard touchdown. It wasn't really open at the time, but he's going to give his receivers opportunities to make plays, something I think the Saints were saying, hey, we wish Spencer Rattler would do that a few more times, which was part of the move to go to Shuck, and I think it paid off in this one for the Saints.
Yep.
And then you got Bryce Young averaging exactly 5 yards per attempt for the Panthers.
Yeah, I mean, just a general total offensive lack of production. Bryce Young has 124 yards. Rico Dowdle, we already mentioned, basically got shut down. No, I mean, they didn't get anything going.
So Young, I don't think he's playing as well.
Not at all.
Last year.
No, I mean, a sort of unspectacular hard regression. Like, he didn't go all the way back into like seeing ghosts, just train wreck, needs to be sat down, but he's gone into he's not moving the ball. Yeah.
Last year, we were defending the pedestrian stat lines last year, and I think rightfully so.
Yeah.
Because
these are different.
There were 4 or 5 plays last year where he would drop a dime down the field, it'd get dropped, or he would have a scramble drill play, or like a key run, or a really tight nice tight red zone pass, tight window throw. You're just not seeing that from Bryce Young. There was a more consistent natural playmaking from him last year. And then when you evaluated the situation, you'd be like, man, he's really doing this without a ton of receiving talent. And so it's interesting, right? Because you have Teterow McMillan right now is better than any receiver he had last year. I guess you could argue the way Adam Thielen played last year, comparable but different styles. But McMillan's better than what he had last year. And then you have him. Is it too reliant on McMillan at this point? But, man, it's just not the same free style that I think we saw from Bryce Young last year, where we're like, man, he's got some natural playmaking ability, and it showed up in the second half, or like the last 2/3 of last season, and we haven't really seen that nearly as much this year.
No, he's not playing well at all this season. I mean, I haven't seen it off the back of this game, but those charts that Sam Hoppen puts out, he's one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL in terms of PFF grade this season, and that's been, I think, real. He's not playing at a high level.
All right, man, let's go New York Jets. Is that next? Yes. New York Jets, 27. Cleveland Browns, 20. Jets get their second win. They traded away all their good players and still get the win here. They moved to 2-7. Browns fall to 2-7. Jets did this with 54 gross passing yards, 42 net passing yards, 42 of which came on a screen pass to Breece Hall that went for a touchdown. Just a lot of fun stuff in this game.
Yeah, I mean the Browns basically spotted the Jets 14 points. Like they gave up a kick return touchdown and then an Isaiah Williams punt return touchdown. I think on back-to-back special teams plays.
Yeah. Browns score a touchdown, give up. Then it's a 99-yard kick return.
Yeah, from
the
Wangwu,
next punt,
who's a really good kick return guy.
Yeah,
like, I'm actually surprised it's taken him this long to get a touchdown off the back of the return of the kick as a thing.
And then the Browns punt, and it's Isaiah Williams' 74-yard punt return. And the Jets are up 14-7, and they only had 13 yards at one point. 14 points and 13 yards at one point.
Yeah. I mean, they had, at one point, the game was tied at 17 all, and Justin Fields had -7 net passing yards. Like, Fields' ability to put these games together is actually amazing. And the final sort of big play, the one that made the passing yards just anything other than 0, the Breece Hall thing, that's like a screen against a complete like house blitz by the Browns. They sent everybody, 0 blitz. And I don't know whether you credit play callers for these things, perfect timing.
Great feel.
Like, did you just get lucky or did you just have or was it, I know he's going to send it to the house here. I'm going to dial up something in behind it. Either way, they sent a blitz. It just got off in the face of everybody rushing. And then once that happens, Breece Hall can basically just run the straight line for the end zone. And that ends up being the difference in the game. But, God, yeah, I mean, you can't spot a team 2 special teams touchdowns.
So then you get to the end of the game. I wanted to touch on Dylan Gabriel quickly because I thought he played better. He showed a lot more in this game, I think, than he did elsewhere. But very much in the Bryce Young territory of, like, here's some good things that happened. He still ends up at 5 yards per attempt and sacked 6 times, right?
Yeah.
But at the very end of the game, the Browns, they're down 7. The Jets have to get pretty much 2 first downs to seal it. The Browns, Devin Bush picks up a defensive holding on 3rd and 16 on a I think it was a bootleg from Justin Fields, and it's 3rd and 16. The Jets are trying to run the clock. They're probably just going to throw something underneath, and it's a defensive hold, so automatic first down. And then the Jets it's 4th and 4. And they line up, and the Browns jump off sides, and the game's over.
Just utterly ridiculous play.
And you were tweeting out the Jets celebration, was that right?
Yeah, Membu was like dancing in celebration. It was Cam Thomas jumps off. Just such a you just can't do it. Can't do that. Like that's
bad
such
ball,
a
man.
It is. It's such a sort of basic, simple awareness game situation. Just understand what's happening here. They're probably not running the play. If they are, this is the one thing you cannot do. And jumps offside. It's just such a bad play. I mean, that's like, it's easy to, like this, the game that everyone said should be flexed to 4 a.m. on Fubo TV or whatever. But like, this is why. Stuff like this. Like, you've got Justin Fields out here with negative passing yards for most of the game. And then you've got the game basically ending on a Browns defensive lineman jumping offside on 4th down. It's like, this is why you're the Browns and the Jets. This is why nobody wants to watch this game. Like, just don't do things like this.
It was ugly. It was ugly football. I mentioned Gabriel. I thought he did some better stuff in this game. He had the touchdown to Dylan Gabriel to Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah,
it was. It felt like the ball was in the air forever, but put it in a good spot. 22-yard touchdown to Jeudy. Had some really nice throws to Harold Fannin. Early touchdown to David Njoku. A couple long scrambles from Gabriel. Ended up with 54 yards on the ground on 5 carries. Still felt, he got engulfed a few times, sacked 4 times by Will McDonald, 6 times total. But I thought maybe Gabriel's best game throwing the ball.
Yeah.
Wasn't saying much. He hadn't done a whole lot these last few weeks.
And he should have another, whatever it would be, 20, 25 yards from Jerry Jeudy, who has a pretty rough drop in there on a good play by Gabriel, rolling to his left, puts the ball right on him. Jerry Jeudy drops the ball. So, it's not, a huge amount, but you're getting him closer to 200 with that and 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. That's starting to look like a more, respectable game. He was solid enough.
Yeah. It's one of those games, though, like Stefanski, you just kind of saw the look on his face. He's giving up the play calling. You've got special teams implosion. You've got procedural implosion. I've been a big defender, I think, of all of the Browns as far as outside of the horrible decision that they made a couple of years ago. Outside of that,
outside of literally the worst personnel move that's ever been made in the history of the NFL.
Take away the worst move ever that everybody probably had a hand in. The arrows maybe pointed up for the Browns, but this is like a rough one. I don't know if this is like a jobs on the line type of game, but with a Jets team that just traded two of their best players to I'm not saying they handed the Jets the game. The Jets, they did a nice job. They had to earn it, special teams and everything, but just an ugly game, and you were on the bad side of the ugly. That's rough for the Cleveland organization.
It's an interesting analysis of like Stefanski, because on the one hand you've got like Coach of the Year resume,
multiple quarterbacks, 5 in a season,
right? And multiple quarterbacks, and the fact that this year was clearly set up as like a sacrificial season with no real answer at quarterback. The plan is always that next year would be the thing, and yet, if the team generally is still losing because of bad, sort of poorly coached type of mistakes, and you've surrendered play calling duties for the second time in 2 years, well, then you end up in this like, well, what exactly are you doing here? Like, well, I understand it's not a great situation. You've not exactly been set up for success, but like, what are you bringing to this? If you're not, like, if we're still a poorly coached football team and you're actually ceding play calling duties at all, well, what are you bringing to the table?
That's the thing. Like, you just want the special teams, the procedural. You want all that stuff to be good and just say, look, if we lose games, we're outmanned. Like, what are we going to do? We got 2 firsts next year. We don't have a quarterback yet, right? We got this mid-round rookie that was starting. Just, we're moving in the right direction, but you don't want to lose in just bad ball. You don't want to lose bad ball at the end. The other thing, see the chat reminded, I believe NFL teams historically who held the opposition to under 175 yards and did not turn the ball over were previously 225-0 since probably the merger. It's now 225-1 because the Browns held the Jets to 169 yards and did not turn the ball over, the Browns, and they lost.
The Jets held Myles Garrett in check completely.
Well, he had a dominant sack.
He
just didn't have as many. I mean,
but like
they dropped back
for an entire game.
But they dropped back 12 times.
Yeah, but
15 times.
Justin Fields, he on his own is capable of turning that into 3 sacks.
15 sacks. 15 dropbacks, whatever it was. So that's why. Yeah, they threw the ball underneath and whatever. Jets get the win. Anything else on this one?
No, thankfully. Get out of that game.
What do I have? FanDuel has a new offer for NFL fans that you don't want to miss. New customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. However you want to play, now's the perfect time to join because FanDuel is giving new customers $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So visit FanDuel.com/33rd to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Must be 21 plus and present in select states for Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER, or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777, or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.
I had the radio on the other day in the car, and there was an ad for something, and then it hit the terms and conditions at the end, and it was the most sped up terms and conditions I have ever heard in my life, to the point where it literally was completely, you couldn't make it out.
Oh, they did a good job?
No. Like you couldn't. They sped it up so much that you could not identify words as English.
The radio sped it up, or like whoever read it?
No. This was so fast it cannot have been a human doing it. It must have been somebody read it and then they sped it up to like 3x. But it was so sped up that you literally couldn't make out the words. I'm like, surely there's a legal requirement as to how fast it can be before it's just not discernible as English.
Just get the Micro Machines guy. Where are we? Jaguars and Texans.
Another game where special teams decided to try and throw the game.
We got some games here to break down. Houston Texans 36. 36. Jags 29. Texans move to 4-5. Jags fall to 5-4. It was 29-10. Jacksonville heading into the fourth quarter.
Yeah, Houston outscored Jacksonville 26-0 in the fourth quarter. Now, one of those is right at the death as just a play that only served to ruin people that had the points.
Yes, I had. Did you take the Jags too?
Yeah,
we both had the Jags getting 1.5. So when they were losing by 1,
anything other than what happened on the last play, we win.
Perfectly fine. I think I was explaining to Harry. Well, the Jags are either going to kick a game-winning field goal or lose by 1, unless there's that defensive touchdown. This is in your, I'm sure SVP's breaking it down on ESPN for non-YouTube TV subscribers.
Taking a break from pushing people to the website to reactivate your YouTube.
Texans, man, they pulled it off. Davis Mills with the game-winning touchdown run.
Yeah.
Impressive run by Davis Mills, 14-yarder to put the Texans up. Let's work back. I don't know. Where do you want to start with this game? There's a lot here.
Again, the Browns special teams unit spotted the Jets 14 points. The Texans basically did the same thing in this game. They had a penalty on a field goal that extended a drive. Then they fumbled the kick return on after that, which the Jags scored from. That was the spectacular Parker Washington touchdown catch.
Yep.
So it's 10-0, like almost immediately. Then they give up a punt return touchdown to Parker Washington. So like another team where the special teams just decided to spot the opposition 14 points or whatever. So as much as Jacksonville looks like they have this completely in hand, they've got the big lead, and now you've got Davis Mills behind an offensive line that's not very good trying to execute a big comeback. A huge amount of that deficit was simply the special teams for Houston was cataclysmic in the first half.
And that goes both ways, right? It's like if it's that bad, sometimes the comeback was not like it shouldn't have been unforeseen, right? Because it's like a fake. Like the Jags are up 17-0
right.
on a short, couple short fields that they're given and a 72-yard punt return. It's really tough to sustain that.
Well, the difference between those and other crazy, comeback or deficit situations is if the points were put on the board because the offense is rolling, I mean, that can easily sustain for an entire game. If the points were put on the board because the special teams unit had 3 random plays where it just crapped itself, the chances are that's not happening in the second half. So you can actually come back because they're not going to put up another 21 points on offense. You can actually, you may have stopped them already. You just need to keep doing that and you'll execute a comeback. Whereas part of the problem with coming back from these huge deficits normally is you can't stop them scoring. So even if you get it together on offense, you need to stop them as well.
So the Jags were up 17-0 early, as you said.
Yep.
Then it was 20-3. They start to sneak back into it. They get to 20-10 after scoring a touchdown. But again, the Jags, another field goal. It's 23-10, and they get up to 29-10. Travis Etienne with a 6-yard touchdown. Jags go for 2 at that point at 29-10, trying to make it 31. They don't get it. That ends up, I don't know if that comes back to bite a little bit because the Texans hit a 2 and then they missed a 2, but 29-10, and then the Texans just start chipping away. Davis Mills hits Jaden Higgins for a touchdown. They get the 2-point conversion, one-handed catch by Nico Collins, who had some really nice contested catches, combat catches, as some coaches like to say, Sam.
Collins was spectacular.
Yeah, he made a few really nice plays. Including he had in the next touchdown drive a 22-yarder in traffic, and then Dalton Schultz 7-yard touchdown to make it 29-24. They missed the 2-point, but every time this happens, the Texans defense makes a stop and gives their offense a chance to make a play, and that was the Davis Mills 14-yard touchdown for the win. Really a spectacular comeback for Houston to maybe even save their season.
Yeah, Houston's defense, I mean, it's pretty spectacular as well.
So good.
Like they had the Donnell Hunter was amazing. The one-handed interception from Derek Stingley is one of the greatest interceptions you're ever going to see. Like it's a slightly, it's on the hip as opposed to out in front. But like Stingley's one hand just like reaches in to the hip, grabs the ball, and somehow brings it in as well. Utterly ridiculous turnover. Like their defense has been spectacular. Also, this ended up being scoregami with that last crazy touchdown.
Really?
I believe so.
36-29. Interesting.
I can check if you like, but I believe that's the case.
I'm somewhat interested. So how does this all happen too? So the Jags, right? There's credit, there's blame. Where does this all go? The Jags in the fourth quarter ran 9 plays.
Confirmed. Scoregami.
There you go. Jags ran 9 plays. Well, they had 3 drives that started in the fourth quarter. Let me just say it this way. They had 3 fourth quarter drives.
Okay.
Drives that started in the fourth quarter where they had a chance to, seal it when they had the lead, or in the last one, down 1. So you're down 1 with Cam Little, by the way, right? Like, we're in this world where we say, don't leave any time. You're 1 deep in cut away from field goal range in today's NFL. Plus, you have Cam Little, the NFL record holder,
who they were using the target line or field goal range. They were using the record.
Yeah,
We've just seen that he's able to hit
5 yards after
from
the
68.
kickoff.
So his target line is here.
So in those drives that started in the fourth quarter, the Jags ran 9 plays for 11 yards. That's it.
Yeah.
Brutal. A brutal finish for their offense. It may have been less than that if you add in penalties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
I'm
bad.
sorry. It was 9 plays for a net 1 yard in the fourth quarter. And I mention this every week because it's like, how do you describe good defense? Coverage and pass rush together, right? The Texans they just manned up on the Jags. Nobody's open, and the pass rush gets home and creates havoc up front, and they couldn't complete a pass in the fourth quarter. They couldn't do anything. And that's, Texans defense locked it down, and the offense did a nice job getting back into it. Woody Marks ran well, and Mills made a bunch of plays. Jaden Higgins had the touchdown and a couple nice catches in there. Key first downs. He had 3 first downs through the air. And then Nico, who you mentioned. So credit the Texans for making this, but this is a collapse from the Jags, man. This is a bad collapse for them.
Failure.
And they had some old takes exposed out. They had some guys, being like, I'm not going to jinx it. It's 6-3, and we're going to sweep the Texans and all that.
Well, you had that, and you had the other guy. You had the guy that retweeted years-old takes of me in this game.
He's a Jags guy.
What a tool. What a tool.
John Shipley?
Yes, John Shipley.
So now he's been, I think, generally okay through the years. He got a little – I think he got a little chirpy with me last year because I brought up – I think I put I want you to tell your story. I want you to tell your side for the people. But last year I put up the screenshot of like Trevor Lawrence, Mahomes going out of bounds, like a few different quarterbacks, like screenshots of them before they got popped. And this is, Lawrence, of course,
making the point that it was different.
I was just saying, I don't even remember what the point I was trying to make. But the fact that I even put Lawrence before he got smoked by Al-Shaair on the same picture as Mahomes when he was like kind of running out of bounds and came back in and people were, didn't know if they could hit him. The fact that I even implied those two on the same screenshot got John a little upset and some Jags fans upset last year.
Early in this game, when, remember, this lead that they had built was based off the Houston Texans special teams unit looking like one of the worst units in football, he retweeted 2 old tweets of mine. The first one was from December the 27th, 2021. Which said, if only Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson, i.e. QB 1 and 2 from that draft, were showing the flashes of elite play that Davis Mills is, who was a third-rounder that Renner had said they literally lit the pick on fire, right? Wasn't that Davis Mills?
Yeah.
But he was actually out there playing pretty well. That would get you drug tested 4 months ago, but it's 100% true in late December of their rookie years. So he retweets that. He then retweeted another one, which is from October the 25th, 2022, the following year, which said, it was me quote tweeting someone that said, last night was big for everyone who had Davis Mills QB1 in that draft class. And I quote tweeted that in 2022 saying it's crazy that there's a legitimate chance that Davis Mills is actually the best quarterback from what was billed as one of the best quarterback classes in years. So he retweeted those 2 things and blocks me so I can't reply. Now, I don't know when the blocking took place. It is entirely possible that he has blocked me previously in the process of just being a general douchebag. But it certainly is like, I'm going to quote tweet these 2 things. They're years old and block the guy so there's no right of reply.
Did you quote tweet them or retweet them?
Retweeted them, sorry.
Okay. So he's sitting there watching the game.
But his basic thing is like, I'm going to take a victory lap over these Davis Mills takes, which, by the way, are not even takes. It's not even like I'm out here saying
they were just comments at the time. Yeah.
Davis Mills is obviously the best quarterback here. I'm like, so number one, the rookie season thing. Like, if you plotted these draft class, I was curious, if you plotted that draft class, right, and did that, have you seen those sort of cumulative EPA charts?
Yeah.
Austin Gale loves these.
Yeah.
Like the cumulative EPA charts, we see sort of how up or how good or bad they go over their careers. Both of these fit in the range where Davis Mills' EPA is better than Trevor Lawrence's. Now, obviously, Davis Mills then ends up as a career backup when we go to C.J. Stroud and blah, blah, blah. And Trevor Lawrence improves because Urban Meyer's not his coach anymore. But, like, neither of these are crazy at the time. And even if they were, it's 3 years later and I wasn't even making that point. So that's
it's petty nonsense.
It's just staggering asshole behavior.
During a game, too. Isn't he covering the team?
Well, it's staggering asshole behavior.
These receipts mid-game? What's going on?
It's staggering asshole behavior, and it's also incredibly stupid because every one of us has been doing this long enough to know that if you try and take victory laps mid-game, there's a lot of things that can happen to make that look stupid. Like, for example, Davis Mills executing a game-winning comeback and stabbing you right in the heart at the death, and you end up looking like an idiot. So be less of an asshole, be less of an idiot, and don't do things like this.
I stand with you.
Thank you.
In that. By the way, the two times that you put those out there, yes, like Trevor Lawrence's rookie season, he was not good. Urban Meyer.
Correct.
In October of 2022, the first half of that year, he wasn't good. That was like right when he turned it around.
Exactly.
So like at the time, you were just making an observation. You're not like, man, I'll take Davis Mills for the next 10 years.
Exactly.
It wasn't even a declaration.
Exactly. That's the whole point.
It was just like an observation.
Even if I had, like, the worst thing that could have happened is at that point I'd been like, it's obvious Davis Mills is better than Trevor Lawrence. Everyone that thought otherwise is wrong, right? That would have been unfortunate, but it would have been understandable at that point. I wasn't even saying that. I was just saying how crazy this situation is where, like, generational best quarterback since John Elway, Trevor Lawrence, at this point does not look any better than Davis Mills.
Yeah.
Like, that was the point I was making. And 3 years later, this asshat is retweeting that and being like, look at this guy.
You know who wouldn't stand for that?
Who?
Our friend Seth Payne. I know Seth's watching, covering the Texans. Seth wouldn't stand for that.
No.
He wouldn't allow that to happen.
No. Seth would never.
So, look, I want to give proper credit.
Where does he stand in this? Because former of both teams, right?
He's a Texans guy now.
Okay.
I mean, he's a Jags legend for me.
But that's what I'm saying.
99
when
Jags
they play,
legend.
what does he do twice a year? Does he have to have that split jersey that Mama Kelsey wears?
He's all Texans, man.
Okay.
He's all Texans now. It's a bit of a turncoat, I would say. Seth. But I think he's all Texans. So, man, so Houston saves their season. Their defense is spectacular. And, look, the offensive line has given them a chance in a lot of games now, more often than not now. And Mills made some huge plays, including one with his legs.
Yeah.
So credit them. Their defense is locked down, and they could, if their offense can just be pretty good, they're a dangerous team, which is why I always like the Texans all year. 4-5 now. Jacksonville, spectacular collapse. And I just want to talk about Trevor Lawrence really quickly here because of your takes from 4 years ago. Now, I think he's faced a run. If we're being fair to Trevor Lawrence, let's look at the teams that they've played. Texans twice now in 10 weeks. Legit lockdown defense. Mm-hmm. Seahawks, Rams, right? Seahawks defense. We see what they're doing.
It's a brutal run.
Right? It's a run of defenses. Now, in the middle of that, you've got the Raiders. Not great.
Without his top two wide receivers in this game.
Yes.
Start.
And so you have no Brian Thomas Jr., you have no Travis Hunter. They just traded for Jacoby Myers, right?
In fact,
so
top two receivers and tight end. Like, he's missing, arguably, he's missing three of their top sort of 4 or 5 passing targets.
Played the Chiefs Monday Night Football, and that was maybe his best game given, like, it wasn't all clean, but given the fourth quarter comeback and the Stumble-Ruski play for the game winner, pretty good. But it's been a rough go.
Yeah.
For Trevor in the passing offense. And we've said this every week. Are the drops through the roof? Absolutely. There's something missing. Like, I'm always, from watching Trevor Lawrence, his timing, I always feel like he's either sped up too much or he's a tick slow. In his timing, I think, is is I think what's been holding him back. I don't know how you fix that. I'd love to we got to talk to JT. I don't know if he's broken down Trevor this year because I'm just fascinated by it. Like, he should be better. Like, we keep coming out of this saying he should be better, not just because he throws the ball fast, but because he's been better before. He's played better football. And I really thought that the combination with Liam Cohen would get him playing better. And again, there's circumstances.
Yeah.
Missing receivers. Yeah, it's the first year in the system, but you're facing a run of defenses that are challenging to play against. But there was a point in Trevor Lawrence's career where I think like a half season or so, where he was maybe a full season across 2 years, where he was elevating the Jags, and I haven't seen that for the last year and a half.
Yeah.
And so like 22 and 23, like the second half of 22 and the first half of 23, it felt like that's your big step forward. And now we're 2 years removed from that, and it's just not feeling it right now.
Yeah, I mean they get an interesting run from this point on. You get another challenging defense in the Chargers, but then you face Arizona, Tennessee. You get the Colts twice down the stretch, but you also have the Jets, the Titans again, and then in the middle of that is Denver's defense, which will obviously be a problem. But there's some games that you should be able to get a much better version of Trevor Lawrence in.
And I don't want to jump to conclusions here, but here's the deal. I see some people putting the tweets out there, like the frustration that Liam's showing, the fact that James Gladstone, the new general manager, is extremely aggressive. Extremely aggressive. They're the team that traded Jared Goff for Matthew Stafford, right? That they said, we have a good quarterback who took us to a Super Bowl, and they said, but we want better. I see people asking, like, and
they also didn't give him the deal.
Who's that?
This regime.
Didn't give Lawrence the deal.
Lawrence the contract.
I see the rumblings. I just see the rumblings and the theories. Like, would they move on? Would they try to trade him? And there's a lot, as always, there's a lot of teams around the league I think would love to have Trevor Lawrence and say, we'll take a shot with Trevor Lawrence, right? So I'm just interested in that for a team that doesn't have a first-round pick next year now. And you have, Trevor Lawrence is a great trade. Like, a lot of teams would really want to have Trevor Lawrence on their team. Would the Jags play that game? I know it's 5-4. We're halfway through the season. Just throwing it out there. It's an interesting dynamic given Liam Cohen looks frustrated. James Gladstone's really aggressive. They don't have a first-round pick, and Lawrence is playing the worst football of his career since rookie season.
Yeah.
The beginning of 22 when you were tweeting about him.
As you know, I don't like to bring up Walt in the chat, but Walt says that he's got shoes older than James Gladstone. I think that's probably true.
34-year-old James.
Yeah.
I believe that. All right, got no more use for this game. Texans save their season. Chicago Bears 24, New York Giants 20. Bears moved to 6-3, surviving the wintry conditions here. The snow, the wind. Caleb Williams, speaking of game-winning touchdown runs. Caleb Williams, the game-winning touchdown run, 63 yards on the ground for Caleb. And Bears get the win here. Jackson Dart goes down with a concussion for the Giants. It was 17-7 at the time, and a lot of things changed after he goes down with a concussion and the lost fumble on that play.
Yeah. This is becoming interesting for the Giants and Dart. Like, they continue to deploy him as if he is a Tim Tebow style of running quarterback, like a Cam Newton, this sort of power running quarterback. They're not just being like, here's a read option look where if you like it, take off. They're like legitimately giving him designed quarterback runs up the middle.
QB power.
Yeah.
Power, and like they're running QB power, QB counter, pullers. Those are downhill type of runs.
And look, he's shown he will slide sometimes, but this is now 2 times already where he's taken a big whack and has at least been evaluated for concussion. And this is the challenging thing. I mean, the Bills have dealt with this with Josh Allen. Like, how much is too much risk for a quarterback running up the middle? Like, how much? This is clearly a part of what makes him a difficult quarterback to defend, but already it's surfaced a couple of times where it's taken him off the field, and you've had to at least look at him. This one appears to be a legitimate concussion that's keeping him out. That's difficult now. I don't know. Do you have to dial back on that? Or you just say, look, this can happen to anybody. It's 2 times in short succession. That doesn't mean it'll be 2 times in short succession from here on in.
Yeah, I want to talk about the Bears in a minute, but let's just talk about it from a Giants perspective and answer that. I'm very impressed with Jackson Dart overall. I think we should all be pretty impressed with how he's played this year. I think I've said for weeks, though, like you have to find this balance. I talk about this with a lot of different quarterbacks. There is a balance, just like the quarterbacks who take too many sacks versus, or like how, you always talk about the sliders, right? There's certain quarterbacks who have a lot of big-time throws and a lot of turnover-worthy plays, and you figure out, okay, how do you balance all of the special plays that they make with the risky decisions that they make? You have to find that balance. There was the Jameis Winston thing where Jameis is going to be so aggressive down the field, but how aggressive is too aggressive? Then you have a Josh Allen example where it's like, it feels like you could deploy, him as a runner every third and fourth and short and you're going to have success, but like, do you actually want to do that every single game for 17 games? Then you have certain quarterbacks who just take too many sacks, but it's at the expense of you're going to create some big plays as well. Like, what's that balance? How many times do you want to get them playing within structure versus out of structure, right? And so the Jackson Dart question falls into the just how often do you want him running, both scrambling and as a design runner? How much, like, if he comes back next week or 2 weeks, whenever he comes back from his concussion, they're 2-8, man.
Right.
How much, like, just it's a tough one, right? Because Brian Daboll, if they win 4 games this year, Daboll might not be there. There's already rumblings that he's not going to be around, but Joe Shane will be.
Yeah.
Right? Because you could easily make this case. Look at how impressive Jackson Dart is. Joe Shane found it, but it's like it was Daboll's guy, and Daboll's not winning games, so you could easily see that happening. So you're going to have the head coach saying, well, I want to win as many games as possible. And you're going to have the GM, somebody's going to be saying, well, we need Jackson Dart in one piece next year.
Yeah, but it's also part of what makes him such a surprise package. Like, we've made this point already. I saw somebody else making it yesterday. Like, his athleticism and rushing ability has been one of the most, like, overlooked or undervalued parts of the draft evaluation and the entire thing. Like, this dude is a dynamic rushing threat that might not make any sense when you're looking at it, but is effective. It's like, I did the same thing with Daniel Jones when he came out, right? Nobody was like, Daniel Jones is going to be a rushing dynamo in the NFL based off his Duke tape. And then out he comes, and he's like one of the most effective rushing quarterbacks in the NFL all the time, to the point where it's continually surprising defenses. Jackson Dart's doing that now. But as producer Will puts in the chat, per ESPN, he's been contacted the second most of any quarterback since becoming a starter in Week 4, taking an average of almost 13 hits per contest. It's his 4th time now being evaluated for concussion. So that's the problem. Like, how do you square that tension between his rushing is a thing that everyone sort of overlooked, and it's actually one of the most potent weapons that he brings to the table, but it's now his 4th time being looked at for a concussion off the back of this. I mean, that you can't sustain that as a rate.
I keep coming back to QB durability is a style thing. It's not a number of hits thing. I mean, yeah, like if you get hit a lot more than everyone else, the chances you get hurt are higher. But certain quarterbacks are better at taking hits. Like Mahomes is better at taking hits. Like people are just either better at knowing how to get hit, knowing how to protect themselves, knowing when to protect themselves, knowing when to slide versus when to drop the shoulder. And some quarterbacks are simply just more injury prone no matter how big they are, a.k.a. Anthony Richardson, right? And so now, is that true? Carson Wentz. They're 2 big guys. They're built for durability, and when they get hit, they get hurt. It's just the reality. It's just who you are. Jimmy Garoppolo is smaller. He's slight. He gets hurt a lot. Kirk Cousins is slight. He doesn't get hurt a lot outside of an Achilles is kind of a freak injury, right? So he's been evaluated for a concussion 4 times in 8 weeks as a starter, or 7 weeks as a starter.
Apparently.
So that's a crazy number, man. So I go back to
but he's like consistent. But the problem is he's consistently like leading the team in rushing. He takes off, scrambling all the time for big plays. He's also a load. Like, it's not just he's elusive. Like, he's actually difficult to bring down as well. So, and they're deploying him like he's this Tim Tebow, Cam Newton power running threat. I mean, if he's been evaluated for concussion 4 times in that stretch, do you have to say all of that's off the table now?
I would.
He's got to go back to being like he has to cosplay as Peyton Manning from now on.
Yes, and here's the precedent that I believe. I bring this up a lot, but I don't know if it was by design or not. But do you remember the first full year Jalen Hurts started was 2022, right? 22 or 20? 21 was the first one of the. Now I'm losing it. Was it 21 or 22? There was the year. No, it was 21. The first half of 2021. the Eagles were not using Jalen Hurts as a runner. It
was like they were performatively trying to prove that he could be a pocket quarterback.
Again, I think the Ravens did this at one point with Lamar Jackson, where they would drop back. Like the Ravens would have this stretch where they would drop back like 40 times with Lamar. And the Eagles did the same thing. And at the time we were saying, this isn't Hurts' game. But I read it as, if they're really saying, we know you can run. We know you can do it. We know we can run QB power with you. This is pre-tush push. We know you can do this stuff. We need you to develop as a passer. That's the upside. That's the ceiling. If you don't develop as a passer, I don't care how good of a runner you are. It doesn't matter. And it felt like the Eagles in the first half of 2021, they were losing games, and they were just dropping back and letting Hurts drop back pass. And he developed as a passer. And all of a sudden, he became this better, well-rounded quarterback who could throw and run more consistently. And he got reps. He got 300 reps or whatever it was in the first half of the season. That's where I'm at with Dart. Whenever he comes back from the latest concussion here, or the concussion, you're developing as a passer. And I'm doing that from the top. Daboll, I don't care about job security, whatever. He is just going to develop. He's going to throw the ball on time. Just last week against the Niners, just sitting there holding the ball for an hour, and the guy from behind just absolutely crushes him for a sack. He's got to develop as a passer. I know they don't have great receivers, and they're missing Malik Neighbors. I get it. He's got to throw the ball on time. And then next year, when we're really trying to, when winning games really matters, we'll figure out how much we need to deploy power counter, QB downhill runs.
Darius Slayton made a couple of spectacular plays in this one.
Fantastic.
I don't know. So this tweet comes from somebody called Joe Shane MVP. So it's not our usual standard of, AP, Josh Dubois level of.
Is it his son?
So what I'm saying is I haven't vetted this in terms of, I haven't fact-checked it.
Just make sure it's not that guy, who's the guy, Weston something, or the guy.
No. It's not like that.
Fools everybody.
My point being, I haven't checked the math, right?
Okay, go ahead.
So he says, against the Cowboys, Broncos, and Bears, the Giants had a win probability of 92.3%, 99.3%, and 96.9% late in the fourth quarter. And Brian Daboll, he said, again, detention. Shane might be there, Daboll might not. Joe Shane, MVP, says Brian Daboll lost all of them. Apparently, according to him, the odds of that happening are 1 in 60,000. Essentially, if you string those three win probabilities together sequentially, the odds of losing all three of those games are 1 in 60,000 for the Giants. And yet, that's exactly what's happened.
Wow. The last thing, because I want to give the Bears proper credit in this whole thing, and we're long-winded. The last thing in this, though, if you're making the positive Jackson Dart point, we're play-by-play people, right? This play,
he still looks good.
Add up all the plays. He's been very good. If you just look at the without, the pre and the post, the offense with Russell Wilson versus with Jackson Dart, I think there's something to that for the quarterback. Even like early in Josh Allen's career where there was some wild plays, it was just like the offense was better when he was out there versus, Nathan Peterman. But when Russell Wilson comes in, or the way this offense looked early in the season, Jackson Dart has made it 1,000 times better, and there's something to that. So you got to protect that guy. And then the same thing happened in this game, 17-7. Now, we did fumble. The turnover affected things. But after it was 17-7, it was like Giants had like a little screen pass, 41 yards. That's all Russ was able to muster up, and they were unable to seal it. And I think, not having Jackson Dart was a huge part of that.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, they had a nice catch and run from Slayton, but outside of that, the offense basically didn't move.
Now, from the Bears' point of view.
The Bears.
I thought it was, Roma, it was a squeaky wheel, dad's upset game. Bears just scored 1 million points, and dad's upset that Roma Dunze had no catches.
Isn't that a classic, not to be all boomer, old man yells at cloud thing, but back in the day, the receiver was the problem. Now it's the receiver's dad. Like helicopter parents, right? Back in the day, you could rely on your diva receiver to be his own pain in the ass. Now it has to be the diva receiver's helicopter dad who's the problem.
Gen X.
Like Roma Dunze seems to be a perfectly nice, middle of the road, no problems. Roma Dunze's dad is a giant thorn in their side.
Gen
right?
X dads.
It wasn't Marvin Harrison Jr. causing problems. It was Marvin Harrison Sr. Kicking up a ruckus, right? What happened?
Squeaky dads. Squeaky dads get you the targets.
Just, helicopter parents are permeating all walks of life now, even the NFL, apparently.
The Bears got 6 for 86 from Rome Odunze, 4 for 55 from Colston Loveland, and 3 for 51 from Luther Burden. Some big plays. So, and then DJ Moore almost had a spectacular catch.
I mean, this was a little bit like we talked about one of these before with Bo Nix, right? Like, it was kind of windy. On the other hand, Bo Nix usually looks like this. This was like, it was very windy, 20-plus mile-an-hour winds in this game, Windy City, after all. On the other hand, Caleb Williams routinely almost makes a bunch of spectacular plays. Like, there were so many in this game where they were, like, almost amazing.
Everything felt like an almost play. And, again, it wasn't necessarily a bad throw. The Bears dropped a ton of passes.
Yeah.
And when you have weather games like this, it affects the drop rate, too.
Yeah,
that's
moves
why
in the wind.
And so I want to credit Caleb Williams, man. He had 20 of 36 for 220 and a touchdown. The stats aren't going to be great. 6 or 7 drops, depending on the outlets you're looking at. And a couple of those, like the throw to DJ Moore in the end zone rolling right, you could say is a spectacular throw. Insane. But if it doesn't time up with his footwork to stay in bounds,
right,
like you can't control that as the quarterback. Like there were some unbelievable throws by Caleb Williams, but the 2 runs that he had, 29-yarder, was it 29? A 29-yarder and then the 17-yard game winner. He's really fast, Caleb Williams. Like his straight-up speed.
Every element.
I could not believe the angle that he hit on that 17-yard game-winning touchdown.
Every element of his physical tool set is more impressive than you think it is. His arm is better than you think it is. His speed is better than you think it is. He's stronger than you think he is. Like every single element of his physical tool set is more impressive, I think, than people give it credit for. And it shows up every game. I mean, Ross Tucker, I think, made this point. Like no quarterback in the NFL is capable of generating the velocity that he is without his feet under him on the run. Like running with neither foot on the ground. His ability to fire a laser is unrivaled. Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Mahomes, none of those guys can generate the RPMs that he does on those throws specifically. It's unbelievable watching the torque that he can generate on some of those throws.
The other thing about Caleb that I think a year and a half into his career, he's been below average at making the line look good. There's been some games that are better than others, but below average overall as far as sack rate, and when it's pressure, it's like it doesn't end up good. In this game, though, he didn't get sacked once. Darnell Wright, I saw this. There's a great block from Darnell Wright going around where he just
burns.
Yeah, he just stops the spin.
He just grabs him with his left hand and tosses him into the floor. It's amazing.
But the point I want to make, Darnell Wright got whooped 3 other times, and every single one should have been a sack, and Caleb Williams saved him. And again, my PSA for all those out there, do not use the sacks allowed stat for offensive linemen. And Darnell Wright, I know he has the highlight reel positive block. I'm saying he got smoked by Abdul Carter, by Kayvon Thibodeau, and someone else on another one. And Caleb Williams saved multiple sacks. Like Darnell Wright should have given up 3 sacks in this game. And Caleb Williams saved him. So I don't think he's done a great job historically of making the line look good when it comes to sack rate and the whole deal. In this game, Caleb Williams did. And so it's not showing up in the stat line, but he saved a lot of those negative plays, 63 yards on the ground, including those 2 long runs that set up both of the last 2 touchdowns there, including the game winner. I thought all of the tools for Caleb Williams were on display in this game and a huge part of their comeback win here.
Yeah, he was very impressive overall.
Was there anything else in this game? Got a lot to get through still.
Yeah.
So the Bears, man, 6-3, impressive win for them, and they survive again. Like they're not playing. Are they regression candidates because they're all 1-score games? Because they're on the other end of this win probability deal, man. They're winning all these tight games, but I still think there's this world where Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson, there's a lot of good there where it's going to continue to progress and grow here.
Throw Luther Burden into my bucket of play the rookie more.
Like
he's getting, like Zacchaeus is getting more playing time than him still. He's kind of seeing more targets than him. And right now, Luther Burden looks like a dramatically more dangerous receiver than Zacchaeus. So flip that.
That's the point I wanted to make here. The trio of Rome Odunze, Colston Loveland, Luther Burden had 192 of the 220 receiving yards.
Yeah.
And that's the future. for the Bears.
And that's with, Luther Burden having the capacity to get a bigger workload because Zacchaeus is still taking a chunk of those. Like DJ Moore is still taking a chunk of those snaps. Like
along with the 1-2 punch, DeAndre Swift was back.
Yep.
Monangai only got 7 carries, but he had a nice touchdown. The physicality and the speed, and Swift had a really physical run on 4th down too. This was a crazy 4th down game. Both teams were 1 for 5 on 4th down. They were just going for all of them and not getting them. It was just a crazy back and forth game early. But they're starting to. The pieces are coming together for the Ben Johnson offense there. All right, what's next? Is it Vikings? Vikings-Ravens. I lost my... Thought you were going to say something, and then I had to go again. Baltimore Ravens 27, Minnesota Vikings 19. Ravens move into second place.
Yep.
Are officially a game behind the Pittsburgh Steelers now in the AFC North.
With 2 games against them.
At 4-5. Minnesota Vikings fall to 4-5. What are your thoughts on this game, Sam?
Classic Minnesota Vikings game, really. Like, they've got the opportunity there to win at home and find creative ways of shooting themselves in the foot, including 8 false starts at home in your own building. That's unbelievable. 7 was some kind of record of like 5 years since that's happened, and then they got an 8th towards the end. I didn't see what that did in terms of all-time records, but
I've never seen anything like that.
8 false starts. 3 of them were on Brian O'Neill, who's like a, Pro Bowl, All-Pro caliber right tackle. Like, what is happening?
J.J. McCarthy was trying to take blame for it. Was that just quarterbacks take blame for that type of stuff, or is he legitimate? Like,
no. He was
something with his cadence.
I mean, look, he's very young, like literally very young. I think he's still the youngest quarterback in the NFL.
I think he is.
13,
right?
yeah. So there's a degree of sort of not immaturity as in like you're going to do stupid things off the field, but like immaturity as in you're like a child. You're saying kind of dumb things. And he's like, it's like, it's all my fault as the quarterback and the leader of this team. And it's almost performative, like self-flagellation. It's like, it's not your fault. Like, anyway, Brian O'Neill was like, yeah, he's not even going to go into what happened. I got to be better. There was some discussion that the Ravens were using like shift calls up front right at the time as the Vikings would have been snapping the ball. It's like, which is the call? Like, and people were jumping off the first sound, which was the Ravens making a call. But Kevin O'Connell said, like, he was asking his players, like, are they doing stuff like that? And they were like, no, we're just screwed up 8 times
At home.
Yeah, in our own building.
There's not a sound issue,
right.
A noise issue. That's crazy. So that was bad. What else?
Well, the kick return fumble was also another. I mean,
so Minnesota's up 7-0. Really nice first drive.
Yeah.
J.J. McCarthy hits Jalen Naylor.
62-yard bomb to Jalen Naylor, catches it, breaks multiple tackles.
The turning point, it's 10-6. Minnesota's up 10-6. J.J. throws an interception. Kind of a bad. If you rewatch his interception, it looked like he tried to like pull it back at the very last second and just a bad read. Threw
Both
it up to
of them
Malachi
seemed
Starks.
Pretty ill-advised.
The second one, though, Justin Jefferson just fell. And
it still didn't seem good.
But
it's like one of those ones.
But it's one-on-one on a deep post. Even if the corner's on top of it, you're trusting your guy. And then Jefferson falls, and then it looked like a punt return for Marlon Humphrey.
He also, by the way, at the end of that, Jefferson just kind of watched it. I mean, like he fell.
I had him keeping contained. Because Marlon Humphrey like took his time, like setting up like it was like a legitimate punt return. He set up his blocking.
Yeah. That's
how much time he had. But yeah, Jefferson didn't really run after him. Anyway, JJ throws an interception. Ravens kick a field goal. It's 10-9. Vikings fumble the ensuing kickoff, and then the Ravens with a touchdown there.
But the kickoff fumble was forced by themselves.
Yeah.
So it was like a comedy of errors, like Benny Hill music, Curb Your Enthusiasm music play, where the guy like Price gets out. We'd been praising him a week or two ago. Gets out of the first tackle, like spins around, and then his own player, like running to catch up and help block, ends up forcing the fumble by like blasting him from behind. He forces a fumble. Then 2 separate Vikings players fail to simply recover. One recovers it and then fumbles it again. The second one fails to fall on it. The third one can't quite get on top of it. And somehow, despite it passing through the hands of 3 separate Vikings at the end of this kick return that they forced themselves, the Ravens fall on it and recover the ball. It's like you add that to 8 false starts in your own building. It's like these are the types of ridiculous things that happen.
Plus the interceptions. Like, yeah, there's a lot of mistakes in there.
Yeah.
These two just can't. Remember we didn't even do the throwback game. Was it the 2013 game where they had a million? Was it 3 kickoff returns in a row or something for touchdowns?
Yeah, they've had some weird games.
These two teams. It's a lot of purple. A lot going on in these games here. The other thing we got to see was J.J. McCarthy in a high volume game, and I thought he did some good stuff. But you finished 20 of 42, so he's under 50% completions for 248. Had the 2 picks. Again, I'd have to look at the timing and the actual separation on the Humphrey one. The Starks one, he just heaved it up, and at the very last second, it looked like he was trying to pull it back, and he just misread it and couldn't pull it back in time. So you got the 2 picks, but you just have this high volume game. Jalen Naylor is the best player on the field for Minnesota with some of the big plays that he made, including a touchdown to help them get back into it. But I don't think that's how Minnesota wants to play. We kept asking, we've never seen J.J. McCarthy in a whole bunch, a lot of 40 attempt, 50 drop back type of games, and he was, creeping up to that mark.
Yeah, I mean, that being said, if they don't fumble the kickoff, if they don't false start 8 times, and let's say Jefferson doesn't fall over on that second interception.
And it's at least contested.
Yeah, minimum, it's just an incomplete pass, right? I mean, all of a sudden, then you're coming out of the game being J.J. McCarthy just answered the call in a big, high-volume game. We needed him to be a real NFL quarterback, and he did. You feel so much better about it. I thought he played pretty well, other than one really bad interception. The other play, my biggest problem with that was not so much the kind of decision itself in terms of one-on-one shot to Justin Jefferson deep down the field. It's it's 3rd and 1. Why are we even going for it all? Can we not just keep the drive going?
Right, that was on 3rd and 1. And so that's the point, though, because he missed a bunch of other stuff, too. I'm not saying it was a great game for J.J. McCarthy, but I think there was a lot on his plate. He was the leading rusher, right? You have those games where the quarterback's also the leading rusher, and so you're not getting that
including
balance.
A bizarre, throwback, a bubble screen, effectively, throwback to J.J. McCarthy, who then takes off, rumbling.
And he's just lowering his head and trying to finish the play.
I mean, whatever about Jackson Darts, I mean, J.J. McCarthy doesn't seem to have carried the ball enough to know, dude, you can't do that. You may not be asked to do this an awful lot, but if you are, let's protect yourself a little bit.
That's what so the game flow just doesn't feel like what Minnesota would want going forward. That's what I'm getting.
But how much of that is the stupid plays eight
when you have that many false starts, it's hard to run the ball.
Right. 8 false starts, a turnover on special teams. If you don't have that, again, it's difficult. I think you're right. You don't want to be behind the chains the whole time and want J.J. McCarthy just to have to rescue everything. But in a situation like that, I think overall he actually didn't do terribly.
The other thing I wanted to bring up, so Baltimore, from their perspective, felt like they went under center. They went under center. I had to look it up a little bit more than they usually do. I think that helped protect from Brian Flores, some nice under center runs from Derrick Henry, some play action. They created some big plays to Zay Flowers down the field. So they did a pretty good job, I think, just getting rid of the ball for Lamar and not having to – they only tapped into him as a design runner a few times as well. So I think the Ravens are still getting back up to speed to where they want to be offensively with the full Lamar Jackson run game package and him as a full threat. But they did a really nice job at least protecting him from Flores, that pass rush, getting the ball out of his hands and moving the ball where they needed to. Again, Zay had some really big plays. There was an interesting one, though. It was 27-13. Vikings score a touchdown, don't get the 2-point, so it's 8-point game. And, the Ravens it's the fourth quarter. The Ravens are running the game out, and they run the jet sweep to Zay Flowers, who drops it. And they fumble the jet sweep, but it bounced back. He picks it right up again. Yeah. And I'm just like, man, this is picturing those Ravens stats. How many double-digit leads have they blown in the fourth quarter, in part because they have more than everyone else? They were this close, man. It's just like a bounce of the ball on a fumble from, inviting that to happen one more time. But the, ball bounces back up to Zay Flowers. Didn't matter. But, Ravens may be playing with fire a little bit.
Yeah, no, I think they were. The Flores defense, I thought, played pretty well again. For the second time, they probably bounced back after kind of getting gashed for a while.
Yeah, I mean they were good overall, and the Ravens had short field and everything. I mean they had some things go in their favor, but I thought they had some good under center answers. It wasn't an explosive Ravens offense by any means.
Going back to the Vikings for a second, the single biggest concern I would have with J.J. McCarthy at the moment is the length of time he holds the ball on average. I mean, that was an issue early in the season when it was made look ridiculous because of how bad the offensive line was. Well, you've got basically the starting offensive line back now. Darisaw, Brian O'Neill, your two bookend tackles. The interior is most of what it should be with only Ryan Kelly and his concussion problem out of the lineup. And they were still giving up an absolute boatload of pressure, not because I think they had a particularly bad game, but because J.J. McCarthy's holding onto the ball like 3.2 seconds on average. I mean, that's a Justin Fields level of average time to throw, and he's not a quarterback that, he doesn't fit into the Justin Fields mold.
Yeah, in this one, he did make some really nice throws.
Yeah.
And that was like you
but
get
that's
some
like,
high-end plays and you get some bad plays.
He played pretty well, overall, but that's a level of stress you're putting on an offensive line that, number one, this offensive line probably isn't equipped to handle, and number two is not helping the offense.
So just to look ahead for Baltimore, they're at 4-5, at Cleveland next week, 2-win Browns,
500,
home against the Jets, who have 2 wins,
above 500,
home against the Bengals Thanksgiving night. By Thanksgiving, somebody said by Turkey Day they'll be in first. Could be
before they even play Pittsburgh. They might have overtaken them at the top.
And then
of the
it's
division.
December 7th. Then they get the mini bye, Sam, and then Pittsburgh for their first matchup. So it's all as we said it might be a couple weeks ago. That's why we kept bringing up the odds in the AFC North. You could see the schedule in the future. Ravens don't look spectacular, but they're taking care of business. So I still don't think they're as good as they've been in past years.
They're not.
But it's in there. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if they played that well, especially offensively.
Well,
if they played those high-end games, it wouldn't surprise me.
When you have Lamar Jackson at quarterback, albeit a Lamar Jackson that generally has not really been as good in the playoffs, it means you have the potential for any one game to just, it's a Lamar game where he shows up, makes insane plays, and that's enough.
All right, before we get to the 4 o'clocks, got to tell you about our friends over at Root Insurance. Root Insurance believes that good drivers deserve better rates, so they've created a new kind of car insurance that rewards good drivers in an easy-to-use app. Traditional car insurance companies focus on demographics like age, zip code, occupation, and credit score to price your coverage, but when Root offers a rate, your behavior behind the wheel gets more weight than any other single factor. They don't use occupation or education level to negatively affect your rate. While you drive, Root gathers and analyzes data from your smartphone sensors. After a few weeks, you'll get a car insurance quote based primarily on your driving. Save up to 44% off your initial Root quote after you take the test drive. If you need a tow truck, jump start, or you lock your keys in the car, Root will cover the help you need to get back on the road when you opt into roadside assistance. The Root app makes it easy to edit your coverage, update your policy, or file a claim in just 3 minutes. You can get started today at Root.com. 4 o'clock games, a whole bunch of 2-score games with 40-plus points. We got Seahawks up first.
Bunch of beatdowns.
Seattle Seahawks, 44. Arizona Cardinals, 22. Second straight week, the Seahawks dominated, got up to a huge lead early. They were up 35-0.
Yeah.
Not even halfway through the second quarter.
And then held on the fourth down. Like, it was an absolute destruction. It was nuts.
Yeah, a beatdown for the Seahawks. 35-0. It was 38-7 at the half. They've now outscored the Cardinals and Commanders 69-14 in the first half alone.
Yeah.
Over a 6-day period. Dominant Seattle team. I'll say this, 2 of them were defensive touchdowns, almost identical. The Cardinals fought back into this. Like, if you didn't have the defensive touchdowns, it ends up being a pretty close game. I know it's like garbage timey, but like I think Arizona, they forced some turnovers and got back into it. But yeah, Seattle establishing their dominance on both sides.
Yeah, you don't get to 35-0 and a half without it being on all phases. Like, it's not just the offense that puts up that kind of score. Just an absolute annihilation. Like, they force a fumble on Jacoby Brissett, touchdown. Honestly, the game's over at that point, to be fair. The second half, I know it got closer, but that's one where I think you saw that basically in all 3 games in the 4 o'clock window. It's kind of hard to sustain an absolute ass kicking when the game's probably won at halftime.
Yeah.
Right? We saw this a few years ago where the Colts had like a 33-0 lead over the Vikings and then lost it. It's just so hard, I think, to keep your foot on the gas and eventually when it starts to chip away, suddenly you start to really tighten up and get worried. Like, this game was done very, very early. 35-0. They hold on fourth down. Darnold fumbles to give them like first and goal right back, and then like that's where you get a score from the first place.
Throws that pick off, pass off his lineman's helmet.
Yeah,
a tight end's helmet.
I was saying yesterday, Seattle has now got 30 or more first half points 3 times this season. It's happened 4 times this year. The fourth time was when the Vikings absolutely stomped the Bengals. But Seattle has 3 of the 4. They are just destroying teams in the first half. It's insane what they're doing.
2, I said, almost identical. Tyrese Knight, strip sacks, forced fumbles in the throwing motion of Jacoby Brissett, where DeMarcus Lawrence picks it up and runs it in for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Amazing. The same guy on the sack, same guy on the fumble recovery, both for touchdowns. So that's 2 of the first quarter touchdowns. They did the same thing again. I don't know why it's standing out to me against Arizona. When we were doing the watch along, I was like, why is Sam Darnold rolling out to the left so often? It was the Arizona game. I know he's done it at other times this year, but in this game he did it a couple times, including early on, 43-yarder to Jackson Smith and Jigba, because they're just money throwing the ball down the field. So that's how it all started. JSN's over 1,000 receiving yards for the season already. They're 9 games in. And so, man, there's so much to like about Seattle's offense. Darnold only needed to throw the ball 12 times, 10 of 12 for 178, and that kind of fluky interception in there.
I mean, just think about that for a second. They put up 44 points, had the game an absolute destruction, and Darnold only needed to pass 12 times.
Yeah, they're just they're efficient when they throw. There's a 67-yarder, kind of a busted coverage from Arizona, which spurred me because I knew Darnold was at like 9.6, some insane number, yards per attempt coming into the game. So as soon as the Cup 67-yarder happened, I was like, that's crazy. Like, he is at that very point, he's back under, but 10 yards per attempt at that very point in the game for the season. He's at 10 yards per attempt for the season is the English sentence that I'm looking for. He's now just a little bit under that. Do people realize how crazy of a number that is? You're averaging a first down every time you drop back.
That's
as
like
the Seattle Seahawks. Like a good normal, like the NFL average is about 7.
It's like a full yard higher than peak Brock Purdy 49ers Shanahan cheat code system.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane.
Matt Ryan had that one spectacular 2016 season with Kyle Shanahan where he was like right up around 9, which was crazy. And Darnold's at 10 for the season. He'll come back down. He's slightly under 10 now. That has to come down a little bit. But it's just a descriptor of how efficient this passing attack has been. And they hadn't been running the ball efficiently. They had been running the ball a lot and throwing the ball not a lot, but when they throw, they create a lot of yards. And then run game-wise, Zach Charbonnet with some big runs, Ken Walker. They had George Halani had one of the first touchdowns, really nice 9-yard touchdown run. They're getting the run. And Rashid Shaheed had 20 rushing yards too in his Seahawks debut. They didn't even need Rashid Shaheed in this one. So, yeah, Seattle's offense, very just explosive, man. They're just creating big plays through the pass game. In this one, they ran the ball well as they had control of the game early on.
Yeah, just a complete and total destruction. Good news for Marvin Harrison Jr. fans. With Jacoby Brissett in the lineup, he got 12 targets. Bad news is he caught 3 of them. Having said that, one of them was a back shoulder, throw. Apparently, Jacoby and Marvin Harrison were able to get on the back shoulder page together.
I had the same note because there was 2 fades because one was a 2-point. He had a fade for a 2-point and a garbage time touchdown. So the fade back shoulder game with Jacoby and Marvin Harrison Jr., I think they can at least do that.
And to be fair, there was another catch. A spectacular pass breakup from Pritchett in the end zone. It's in his hands.
That was a great.
And it's a great catch.
Great play by
he's
Pritchett.
Making a great catch, and then Pritchett gets his hands in there and breaks it up on the way down. So, legitimately, I think you are seeing an unlocking of Marvin Harrison Jr. with Jacoby Brissett in the lineup. It just didn't make any difference whatsoever because they were already dead by the time it got anywhere.
Yeah. So really impressive from Seattle. This was juggernaut type of stuff. And as the 4 o'clock games, I said a couple hours ago, a lot of the show, or at least a couple times, I'm thinking ahead, right? I'm watching Seattle do this. I'm watching the Rams dismantle the Niners. The Niners kept fighting back into it. But I'm just like, man, they're playing next week.
Yeah.
Seahawks, Rams next week, and both teams playing at that juggernaut type of level. The matchups themselves are going to be really interesting in that game. But because I think Seattle's defense is better. I think Seattle's defense has at least the high-end potential, the turnover ability. They're another one of those teams that is just meshing the pass rush and the coverage. They're making life difficult on the back end, and then they're bringing pressure with their defensive linemen. Nicky Minwari had a sack in there as well. Tyrese Knight had the 2 strip sacks as a linebacker. So their blitz package is really good. 4-man pressure is really good. The coverage unit's really good. Seattle is just unbelievable right now.
Yeah, they are. They look insane. Couple of things from Arizona's point of view. Walter Nolan went down in this game holding a knee and got helped off. Hopefully that's not bad. I haven't seen any update on that, but I mean, he just come back from an injury and was good in his debut. Really hope he's avoided something nasty there. Calais Campbell is now 12 games away from Jim Marshall's all-time record of games played for a defensive lineman.
Wow,
he's in
that's
third
amazing.
position right now. He's only 9 games behind Bruce Smith for second on that list. I don't think he can reach either of those this season, right? He would have to play another game, or another year rather, to hit that. But he's already third in terms of all-time defensive lineman games played, which is pretty crazy.
Man. Get him back. Did he say
he's still cooking?
Done? He's still good. Yeah, still very good.
I mean, there's a chart out there. I don't know where the data is from. PFF, I think, is a part of it. But it's like pass rush, win rate, pressure rate. I mean, basically the same thing. But like you've got Cardinals defensive tackles that aren't Calais Campbell in the bottom crappy quadrant. And then you've got Calais Campbell who's still like better than average as an interior pass rusher. I mean, he's approaching 40 and he's still really good.
I always joke, you just never know which guy's just going to play till they're 40. Like, you couldn't have predicted 10 years ago, Calais Campbell's the guy that's going to be here for another decade and just keep playing well and doing it across. Remember we went to Jacksonville, started playing more like power edge instead of defensive tackle, and was really spectacular there. What a great career.
I mean, he's had
Campbell.
He's had a better second half. He's had a Tom Brady career where like the second half was better than the first half and the first half was really good.
Yeah.
Like he left Arizona and you're like, he's reaching the point, 30 years old, blah, blah, blah. Maybe he's going to be on the downslope. But no, from that moment on, he started cooking like the best defensive tackle in the game, or one of them. And it's still like a really positive player. I mean, if I would want him back just to break that record.
Oh, definitely. I mean, if he's that close, might as well.
Was Marshall's did he do it consecutively? Because he had the streak that was insane.
I don't know.
I don't know if all of his, like if he played literally every start that way.
I've said before, I have incredible baseball history knowledge. Football history, don't have that. I do not have that. I've got 90s football knowledge. 80s and 90s NFL knowledge. Baseball history, though, I can go back.
I know
back
Marshall.
Early 1900s, I got that.
I know Marshall has like a consecutive start streak, but I don't know if it's the same as games played. Like I don't know if he had any games where he didn't start consecutively.
Do you have anything else on this one?
No.
So we mentioned the Rams, 42-26 over the Niners. Rams moved to 7-2. Niners fall to 6-4. Rams got up early. Niners kept fighting back, man. They fought back, but Rams were up 14-0. They got a turnover from I had it in my notes here. Got up 21-0 pretty quickly after a turnover, and then is that what? The landman punch. That's what it was. The landman punch, third one this year, I believe. Landman punch on Juwan Jennings set up another touchdown for the Rams. They got up 21-0. Niners chipped away, kept getting within a score, but the Rams had answers, which was impressive from their perspective. If they gave up a touchdown, they generally came back and scored and kept making it a 2-score game before they ran away with it, 42-26.
Yeah, it kind of started the inverse of the last game. Like the Rams were expected to beat down the 49ers the first time they played, but San Francisco started sharp, smooth, easy touchdown drive, sort of set the stage for actually that's going to be a different game. But this one went the way it was supposed to go, where the Rams were the team that started, just marched down the field, easy touchdown. Then they, the forced fumble from Landman. And then you're like, okay, even if Mac Jones is able to cook and the 49ers are able to roll an offense, like I don't know where you're stopping this Rams team, and they couldn't.
Yeah, I see a lot of our friends pointing out the 13 personnel that the Rams are using. They're 3 tight end packages. That's 1 back and 3 tight ends, using it at a ridiculously high rate. And it's just interesting football right now with, Colby Parkinson, who had 4 catches and, using him as a run blocker. Tyler Higbee. They got Terrence Ferguson, the rookie second rounder, involved a little bit later. Big play action, 32-yarder to him. Davis Allen. So they've got 4 tight ends rotating through there in a team that is historically, right? Sean McVay was at the extreme end. You always mention this. Three wide receivers all the time.
Yeah.
To the point where it's like, why don't you change up personnel? Why do you never change personnel? Most teams love to change personnel and keep defenses off balance. McVay never did that, and all of a sudden now they're just a big, heavy 13 personnel team, 3 tight ends out there all the time.
Yeah, some stats from Jordan Rodrigue, friend of the show. Coming into this game, the average for the season for the Rams was 16% in 13 personnel, which I think that was the most in the NFL by a couple of percentage points. In this game, 44.8% was in 13 personnel. So they went from we're going to run it 15% of the time to we're going to run it basically half the time because the 49ers don't have any linebackers left. So we're going to keep all of them on the field and go after them with tight ends.
Yeah, and they were running the ball effectively and just setting up play action, boot action, and it was just good offense, good efficient offense.
I mean, you remember that meme of Kyle Shanahan with the binoculars, zeroing, the crosshairs zeroing in on usually a linebacker. That's like Shanahan.
Isaiah Simmons.
Yeah, Shanahan's going to make that guy's life miserable. I mean, the Rams did that, but it was just the entire 49ers linebacking core. They don't have Fred Warner. They don't have, any linebackers that they're comfortable with anymore. So we're going to force all of them to be on the field at the same time, and go right after them.
Matthew Stafford finishes with 4 touchdowns and no picks. He's now up to 25 touchdowns and 2 picks on the season, and he's getting all of the latest MVP hype a little over halfway through the season right now. A couple of those touchdowns, easy pickings, right? Touchdown to screen pass to Puka that he runs through contact. He's such a good runner, man, Puka Nacua. He's good at a lot of things. The body control, catching the ball along the sideline, but just such a tough runner as well. So the screen pass, that put him up 14-0. And then, using those tight ends, the last touchdown, Davis Allen on just a wide open drag route throwback from Stafford. That offense is just really humming right now.
And by the way, the 49ers didn't counter that with a third linebacker. They stayed with just the 2 of them, Tatum Bethune and D. Winters. They were countering 13 personnel with effectively nickel defense. So it meant that whenever you wanted to target one of those tight ends, the chances are he's being covered by a defensive back, which is a mismatch, right?
Niners fought hard offensively, at least. Mac Jones goes 33 of 39. That's 85% completions on 39 attempts. Didn't get sacked. 3 touchdowns. He had a pick on 4th down. He had to force one under pressure.
Yeah.
Emmanuel Forbes got him there when they were trying to make a comeback attempt. But a couple nice throws in there. I thought Mac, finding Christian McCaffrey underneath, had some tight window throws to Kittle and Juwan Jennings. Thought Mac Jones played a pretty good game. And again, they were just playing from behind most of the game and couldn't get close enough. But the offense, I thought, did a really nice job.
Yeah, if their defense had held up its end of the bargain at all in this game, this would have been pretty interesting because the 49ers offense generally was pretty good. It did. I mean, the turnovers were pretty backbreaking as well, but they could have hung in a shootout maybe if it wasn't for that. George Kittle was absolutely beasting in this game. He made a couple of ridiculous plays. He had the Julio Jones touchdown, the ridiculous Superman, out with one hand touching the pylon whilst the rest of you is splayed over the sideline. Made another crazy catch over the middle as well. Christian McCaffrey was amazing. Juwan Jennings, other than fumbling the ball, was really good. Their offense could have, should have hung in this game, but the defense just gave them no shot.
Richard Sherman calling for Mac Jones to be starting somewhere next year. Oh, no, he was calling for QB controversy with Brock Purdy coming back.
That's the more interesting thing, I think. I mean, number one, he's a 2-year deal, right? So they would have to trade him somewhere rather than it's not like he's just walking out into a job.
He was more saying you have a decision to make when and if
that's the
Purdy's
thing.
Actually healthy.
But so it's the problem with the Mac Jones thing is we've just seen him struggling in several places that weren't Kyle Shanahan offenses. So it's do you really want to take the chance that this was just Kyle Shanahan, or Mac Jones actually rediscovered
Or did
his
Bill
rookie season
Belichick
form?
just ruin him?
Right. But the point is, if you were another team looking for the next Sam Darnold or whatever, you'd be pretty twitchy about this being Mac Jones versus Kyle Shanahan. Within San Francisco, though, it becomes very interesting because now you've got a Brock Purdy decision again, like the Brock Purdy Trey Lance thing of it doesn't really matter how much of it is him versus Shanahan. The point is together it really works. I mean, you have the same conversation now, except instead of we gave up 3 first-round picks for Trey Lance, it's like we've just given Brock Purdy $55 million a year, or 53 or whatever they ended up paying him.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kyle Shanahan has a history of elevating quarterbacks.
Yes.
He's doing it again with Mac Jones.
And we'll do it for both of those quarterbacks, whether it's Mac Jones or Brock Purdy.
Yeah, and I think Brock Purdy, the high end from Brock Purdy, has been better than anything Mac Jones has put out there. Like, this is an impressive game. Mac's playing well.
Yeah.
But again, remember, we can remember more than last week. We can remember more than a year. We can remember maybe even 3 years. The best of Brock Purdy's been better than the best of Mac Jones. Mac Jones is probably playing at a Jimmy Garoppolo type of level for this offense, which is the same level that they moved on from to get Brock Purdy, which I think elevated the offense. That's where I'm at.
It is. I think a huge part of that, though, was injury related. Like, I think if Jimmy Garoppolo was made
Purdy
out of...
also played better than Garoppolo, was more efficient.
Yeah, but if Jimmy Garoppolo was made out of the substance that Brett Favre was made out of, I don't know that they would have moved on from him.
They may not have moved on from him. They moved on from Jimmy Garoppolo for Trey Lance.
Right.
First.
But I think
when
big
Brock
part of that
Purdy
is the
went
injuries.
into the lineup, he played better football. The offense was better than it was with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, but I don't think you can just say that because they moved on from Jimmy Garoppolo because he wasn't good enough. They moved on from Jimmy Garoppolo, I think, in large part because they couldn't trust that he would make it to a 16-game season.
I'm not talking about why they did it. I'm talking about once.
That's kind of important.
No, that's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is when was the Niners' offense better? When Jimmy Garoppolo was the quarterback or when Brock Purdy was the quarterback?
But then don't say they moved on from him because that's not relevant to that point.
They made a move to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo. They picked the wrong guy, Trey Lance, and they stumbled into Brock Purdy. But they made a move to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo because they wanted to get healthier, not have to deal with the injuries, and advance the offense. And when they had Brock Purdy under center, the offense was better. And I'm saying if you're ranking offenses under these 3 quarterbacks, Mac Jones, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Brock Purdy, it goes Brock Purdy 1, Mac Jones, and Jimmy Garoppolo 2. You might have Garoppolo over Mac Jones, to be honest. Like, Brock Purdy's run the best Niners offense of the last 5 years under Kyle Shanahan. Sure. That's the point I'm trying to make. And unless you think but now, would you want 80% of Purdy versus 100% of Mac Jones? That's a discussion. But if Brock Purdy's healthy, he's the quarterback here, and he's had the best success of any Niners quarterback.
Yeah, he also wasn't, very small sample size, but he wasn't playing at that level since this season, since he got paid. It's an interesting discussion, though, because the 49ers are looking pretty good and in decent shape and still contending, and you don't know that you're going to get that version of Brock Purdy right away or whenever he comes back in the lineup. So I think long-term, Purdy should stay the quarterback until you're given a really obvious reason for that not to be the case. Shorter term, though, it's getting harder to be like, well, we've definitely got to sit down Mac Jones when Purdy's ready.
Yeah, if Purdy's still dealing with the injury, I'm fine with rolling Mac Jones. It was an impressive game from him. They're just so beat up defensively. I don't know what the Niners are able to do on that side of the ball.
Yeah, and that's the problem that's been coming since they lost their 2 best players on defense.
And then the final thing, I think such a fascinating matchup talking Rams and Seahawks. There's definitely a part of me that's looking at this Rams defense and saying they're giving it up against the Niners and this, Shanahan offense, and the Seahawks are running this, highly efficient Kubiak offense, and maybe the matchup's not like the Rams defense isn't as good as the Seahawks defense, is what I'm leaning toward. It's just the Rams offense against that Seahawks defense is going to be a great matchup, might determine the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Even though teams look really evenly matched, I just wonder if this comes down to a whole matchup thing.
Yeah.
Do the Rams have the matchup? Do the Seahawks have the matchup? But they're going to play twice in the next few weeks, and should be a good one next week in the 4 o'clock window.
By the way, fair play to Emmanuel Forbes, you mentioned before with that interception. That was a great interception. Kind of batted it to himself and like deliberately, not just, look, I accidentally batted it and I can pick this off. Like deliberately kind of batted it up and gave himself a second chance at it. 2 pass breakups in the game, including that one.
Playing a lot better.
Yeah, and a guy who has genuinely been slowly turning his career around with the Rams. I mean, former first-round pick, was an absolute disaster in Washington, in large part when he had to cover guys that outweigh him by like 70 pounds. But the Rams, they know what to do with undersized corners. Like, all their corners are undersized. This is a team of smaller, unusually sized athletes on the back end, and Forbes is turning his career around.
And like you were talking about during the trade deadline show, the idea of just buying low on a former first-rounder, second-rounder.
Yeah.
It's a nice – this is why teams buy low on a first-rounder, right? At some point, the guy had enough skills. You could say what you want. He was drafted ahead of Christian Gonzalez, bad move, whatever. But a buy low on a first-rounder who's talented –
that's the thing. It's not like whatever about should he have been drafted before or after this guy. Nobody was like, this guy has no talent.
Right.
Like he doesn't belong anywhere in this discussion. Like he's a total fraud, right? This is a day 3 player. Everyone, like, he was a good prospect who may have been overdrafted a touch, but clearly has talent.
His size, his weight.
Yeah, clearly has talent, and now the Rams are making it work.
Anything else on this one?
No, that's it.
All right, 2 more games. Another blowout in the 4 o'clock window. Detroit Lions 44, Washington Commanders 22. Lions move to 6-3. Commanders fall to 3-7. Lions looked like the old Lions in this one. Now, look, the Commanders' defense has been atrocious in recent weeks. But the Lions, a classic offensive game from them, and they did it with Dan Campbell taking over the play calling.
Yeah, they did. Again, I mean, we said this on the Instant Reaction show yesterday. I'm sure that this is not why Dan Campbell did it, but if you wanted to make yourself look smart, taking over play calling duties when you go up against Washington's defense right now would be a pretty good way of doing it. So, first game of Dan Campbell calling the plays this season, they put up 546 yards, 8 yards per play. Jared Goff goes for 320 and 135 passer rating. Jahmyr Gibbs goes for $142 and 2 touchdowns, and everything looks spectacular. You're like, I'm Dan Campbell, offensive genius.
I mean, it had the Lions throwback, and throwback, I mean, like, you know, of the last 2 years where all the athletes were on display. Like Jahmyr Gibbs in space as a runner and receiver. Jamison Williams in space. Really nice touchdown, too, just outrunning the Washington defense at the goal line. Amon-Ra doing his thing. Sam Laporta, all of the speed, all of the playmaking ability. They spread the ball around. They ran the ball exactly 15 carries for both Gibbs and Montgomery. Montgomery with 71 yards, but Gibbs, 3 touchdowns, 2 running and 1 receiving. Nice little angle route early on, mismatches left and right for this Lions offense against the Commanders defense, and they took advantage of all of them.
Yeah, I mean, the Commanders defense, which is already terrible, and then melted down during the course of the game. Deron Bland got himself ejected from the game for taking like a full
Payne.
For taking like a full roundhouse punch at, was it Amon-Ra St. Brown that he swung at? Somehow Javon Kinlaw didn't get ejected for the game for pushing/punching an official, which I'm pretty sure is, and it got flagged. It's not even like they decided it was
it an open hands though? Was it okay?
I don't think that matters for officials.
I know.
But it was not like, I mean, sometimes I've seen ones where you like inadvertently hit/touch an official and they've like, oh, it was an accident. Now, usually even those, they toss them out of the game for it because it's, you know, zero tolerance with the officials. They like flagged it and didn't eject him. I have genuinely no idea how he didn't get tossed out of the game. And that was the second stupid thing that he did in the game. The first one, he's like taunting a guy after, you know, making a play. I mean, it was a bad defense to begin with, and some of their better players up front are absolutely imploding.
So, yeah, it was a pretty one-sided game here. Lions got up, you know, a couple key 4th downs that they had to just put a field goal on the board to get up 25-10 and before the half, and they get up 32-10. That's pretty much it. I think Mariota made a few nice throws in this game, but it was all, you know, trying to come from behind. They got within 12 at one point with Chris Rodriguez touchdown. And that was about it. Washington beat up defensively. They looked slow defensively. We had concerns about them defensively anyway coming in.
Yeah.
And even if Jaden Daniels was healthy this whole season, still feels like it would have been a massive disappointment for the Commanders, who were in the NFC Championship game last year.
Yeah, huge disappointing season for them. Did you see the stat that they put up of Jahmyr Gibbs?
Yes.
40 plus scrimmage touchdowns before turning 24. Now, he doesn't turn 24 until March, so he's got the rest of this season to go. Jahmyr Gibbs has 41 of them. The only 4 players ahead of him: Jim Brown with 42, Emmitt Smith with 43, Randy Moss with 43, and Barry Sanders with 47.
What's the criteria?
40 or more scrimmage touchdowns before turning 24. 40 touchdowns of 40 or more yards.
And how many do they have?
41, 42, 43, and 47.
That doesn't sound right.
It's 40 or more. So total touchdowns from scrimmage before turning 24. Not
just
40
touchdowns,
yeah,
not 40 plus.
Correct.
Okay, that's what's because I read it as 40 plus.
No.
Plays somewhere as well.
Touchdowns from scrimmage of any description before turning 24 years old.
17-game schedule, though.
17 game schedule. But anyway, the point is he has the rest of the year to go.
He does.
He's got half a season to finish. By the way, and all 4 of those guys, Hall of Famers.
Are they? Is it? We officially justified the 12th overall pick now for Gibbs?
I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell, Sam Laporta, Brian Branch. that draft class. 4 picks.
If you're ranking draft classes over the last decade, the 23, forget QBs aside. You say like 2017 Chiefs with Mahomes, the 2023 Lions, and the 2017 Saints. All-timers.
Yeah.
17 Saints, 23 Lions, those come to mind. And the games are fun when the Lions, it's like all those guys are making plays. Brian Branch had a sack in this game. Jack Campbell's been outstanding, I think, the last 2 years for them. Laporta, Gibbs, yeah. That's the Lions. So they took care of business. They dominated the Commanders. We'll see what happens with the Dan Campbell play calling going forward. It's not like he's never called plays before. I know we sometimes think of him as like the meathead coach who doesn't know X's and O's. That's not really the case. But the real test, so they dominated as they should against Washington. Their offense has been inconsistent this year. They've shown flashes of this, but inconsistent. Now the test is going to be next Sunday night. It's all next week's games, man. Lions-Eagles. The NFC Championship that we didn't get last year, that we were looking for the entire season. We're like, these are the 2 best teams in the NFC. But Washington upset Detroit last year. And so it's kind of fun that they're playing back-to-back too, Washington then Philly. So that's what should have happened, right? The Lions should have beaten the Commanders and then played the Eagles in the NFC Championship last year. We didn't get to see it, but we get to see it next week on Sunday night.
Mm-hmm.
You sound excited.
I mean, look, next week's got some banging games.
What's my recap for Week 10? Can't wait till Week 11. It sounds like you're done with this one.
Yeah, we got one more game to go. And this one wasn't a complete beatdown.
It wasn't?
No.
Yes, it was. I mean, it kind of was.
It was too close to be a beatdown.
It was close. Chargers 25, Steelers 10. Chargers moved to 7-3. Steelers fall to 5-4. It was a baseball game early on.
Yeah.
3-2, 5-3, 12-3.
Mm-hmm.
Chargers were up 15-3 into the third quarter, and then they scored a touchdown to go up 22-3. Then it was just like insurmountable at that point.
I mean, yeah, the Steelers didn't have the offense to drive. I mean, felt like a game where both teams were going to really struggle. The
offense was bad.
Yeah,
in this game
for both sides. The Chargers. I mean that offensive line going up against Pittsburgh's defensive line looked like one of the biggest mismatches on paper of any game this season heading into the game. And it was kind of manifesting that way. I mean, the Chargers' offensive line was getting wrecked. Herbert was under all kinds of pressure. The pass rush was getting home, but eventually they just kept making a play here or there, and that was enough because Pittsburgh was making no plays here or there.
Just the Ladd McConkey plays, really. 15-yard touchdown, 58-yarder where he tried to run away from Jalen Ramsey. Couldn't really do it. But those were the plays. I think I was describing that in the preview because Herbert got sacked 5 times again. But the difference for the Chargers, I think this year versus last year, is they have Ladd McConkey and Quentin Johnston. And, they have Aronde Gadsden. He dropped a couple passes in this one that could have been big plays. They at least have the playmakers where Herbert can get the ball out even under pressure and create some plays. And it was McConkey in this game that flipped the field at least once, but had the 15-yard touchdown as well.
You remember a couple of weeks ago, Chris Long had his thing about, PFF grades just shouldn't be on the TV. before games because no one wants to see, this guy is ranked like blah, blah.
Yeah.
Chargers offensive line, the ranks when they put them up on the TV. Bozeman, 36 out of 36 at center. Trey Pipkins, 35 of 36 at right tackle. Mekhi Becton, 36 of 37 at right guard. And Austin Decula's 38 of 38 at left tackle. So 4 of the 5 starters rank either worst or second worst in the NFL at their positions.
Yeah. And Herbert did get banged up a little bit.
Yeah.
Ankle rolled up on. It's like,
I'm amazed. That looked nasty when that happened. They just strapped him up and he went back out.
got to be careful, man. They're 7-3, second place in the division, and defense is tough, dude. They play hard, and I think Rodgers played horribly. Starting with that sack, kind of a clean pocket, and then he ran into pressure and then dropped the ball in the end zone for a sack, for a safety.
Well, that was one. It's like we were saying this before we went live. Like Rodgers, half of his job at this point is resetting the leverage of his offensive linemen, and actually he's been kind of feeling that the last few weeks. He's been looking more like old Aaron Rodgers, where he's able to just take a skip in one direction, reset the leverage of usually Broderick Jones, and then carry on as if nothing's, there's no big deal. That felt like one where he was like feeling it too much. It's like, oh, it's Khalil Mack free. I'm just going to take a skip back, avoid him, and we're all good. Only you skipped a little bit too much. It's Khalil Mack, not just some chump, and you lost the ball on the way by clanging it off the hip of your own lineman.
Yeah. That was ugly, ugly play.
But it's like there's sometimes where you can get away with that. Bouncing back into your own end zone when it's Khalil Mack chasing you down is probably not the time to do that.
This one felt like the way a 40-year-old normally ages. We say this a lot, Sam, but I think we have it in our head, like the Peyton Manning year, where like the arm is just completely gone.
Right.
But he had some injury issues and everything. He was 39, and like he had some injuries. But like I think we assume that the 40-year-old's gonna age by just throwing ducks, and it's not necessarily the case. I feel like this Rodgers game was the 40-year-old regression game. We saw it a little bit with Breeze. I think you lose a little bit of the internal clock. I think you just lose some of the internal clock, and then even like Brady's last year, he just had some plays where he was just like, I don't want to get hit. I don't want to take the sacks. I'm just going to throw it. Rodgers had that one wide open in the flat where he threw it, did like a little spinneroonie to like protect himself from the hit, and he overthrew. I think that's how I think that's where the 40-year-old stuff shows up. It's not going to show up and, he's only throwing 80 miles an hour now instead of 90, in baseball terms. It's not the velocity. It's the feel. It's like, I'm going to get rid of the ball a little bit quicker than I should, under pressure. A couple overthrows here and there. He had DK open a couple times down the field, and he missed them. He's just off, accuracy-wise. And so it was an ugly one, I think, for Rodgers, and it's against a good Chargers pass defense.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the Chargers defense looked really good. There were plays to be made. I mean, this is the thing. Rodgers definitely didn't play well, but there were multiple plays where they had chances. Like he missed DK Metcalf on a touchdown early in the game. This is one where it's interesting. Like,
that's what I'm saying. He had a lot of just misses. It was just misses accuracy-wise. I think that's the aging process for Rodgers. He's going to miss a few more. It's not like
he missed a lot
physical talent
in this
thing,
game. Like usually high for some reason in this game. It was like he was calibrated to Cam Newton levels. But he missed DK Metcalf on this play. It was a fascinating play overall because it was sort of
like a cartoon cat.
It was right on the fringes of field goal range. Like Chris Boswell makes a 59-yard field goal in the next play. So from that line of scrimmage, it's a 59er. But if he takes a sack, it's probably out of field goal range. Or he hits a touchdown, it's obviously – so he makes this play where Jones gives up immediate inside pressure. Rodgers skips to his left, gets out of that. So avoids a sack. That's a 3-point positive play for Rodgers because if he takes a sack, you're not getting the field goal. So net +3 for Rodgers. And then on the scramble, DK Metcalf's one-on-one and open over the top, and he misses him. And I was like, well, that's a 4-point negative. Like, so you're still up one, I guess, but you should have had a touchdown on the board. And that was kind of Joey Porter Jr. drops an interception on one of those plays where Herbert just didn't see him. It was a little kind of inside whip route, and he never saw the guy from the outside coming back towards the play. You make that play. Like, every time there was a play to be made, Pittsburgh didn't quite make it.
Yeah, it was ugly offense in this game. And again, I don't think Pittsburgh's I don't think Pittsburgh's offense has been good this year. Outside of in the red zone, they throw to the big guys well. And Jalen Warren's made some spectacular plays. Even in this one, had a couple nice runs in there. He's made a few spectacular plays, but it's very inconsistent. And then Rodgers hits our guy Calvin Austin right in the hands. He drops it. It gets picked off. And Chris on the broadcast is making the point, this is why they're running so much Darnell Washington and extra tight ends and extra offensive linemen. They don't trust their receivers. They don't trust Roman Wilson and Calvin Austin. They don't trust everybody beyond DK Metcalf. They were in on Jacoby Myers and they were in on receiver discussions, but they didn't get a deal done. And now they're sitting there with, big time questions at wide receiver 2 and 3 beyond DK Metcalf, and at 5 and 4 with the Ravens, coming up and on their way in the AFC North.
And Austin's made some big plays for them, and he's got talent, but man, you've got to catch that one.
Yes. So I know I see the Steelers beat and everybody, confused by this team, and it's like it just feels like a Mike Tomlin team with a 40-year-old quarterback. That's what it is.
Yeah.
A future Hall of Fame 40-year-old quarterback, but he's still in his 40s, not playing the best football of his career. I don't think he's playing that great. The offense looked good against Cincinnati and in the red zone this year.
Yeah.
That's it. And they've had a bunch of short, if they don't have the multiple, think about how many games the Steelers had multiple turnovers against New England, against Indianapolis, had some short fields even against Seattle, tons of short fields. That's how they've put points on the board. They haven't been a drive-sustaining offense. They've got some issues if their defense is not playing at a high level.
Well, I think at least you're seeing the defense take steps forward and look more like the unit we thought it might do at the start of the season. It's not going to be, I don't think, completely dominant at any point, but it is at least looking like a good defense now. That's helping, but you're looking at the offense and you're like, the offense is not good enough, right? They don't have a secondary receiving threat. They've got at least one significant problem on the offensive line that's a consistent issue week to week. Rodgers is not playing particularly well, even if, he can do a lot and there's veteran savvy that he brings to the table and he's able to fix some problems. There's multiple problems on offense that probably hold them back from being a truly elite team.
And I would just say from a Chargers perspective, we know the defense is good. They're interesting because they make 90% of throws I feel like are really tough, and then there's a couple per game, and Rodgers missed them. There's a couple per game that they allow. No defense is perfect, but they're mostly a very good pass coverage unit who makes it difficult to just move the ball, right? And then offensively, I just worry about Herbert getting sacked 5 times this game, 5 times last week against Tennessee. The offensive line is going to be a concern with all the injuries and just who they have there. Amarian Hampton coming back soon.
Yeah.
Should help. I love the way Vidal's been running. He had 25 carries yesterday, a couple nice ones in there, and a touchdown. So I think they can lean on the run in certain games, and I like their playmakers. Quentin Johnston kind of reverting back to, some drops and not catching some contested catches that he should, but he's at least creating. He's a better weapon than I think he's been in previous years, Quentin Johnston.
Yeah.
And McConkey. Keenan Allen got the Chargers record on the tap pass, which was nice. So they at least have the playmakers to offset the line a little bit, but you can't do that every play. They're not going to get open every single play, and Herbert's going to need to just be better protected and can't get tackled and sacked 5 or 6 times every single week.
Yeah, I feel bad for them because that offensive line is just it's so rough, and there's no, I think, obvious fix on the horizon. You need Joe Alt to be healthy. And now you're Justin Herbert's playing fantastic football. The defense is very good. They've got enough weapons for it to work when you get Hampton back and when the receiving core is healthy. But the offensive line is such a problem that I don't know if you're going to be able to overcome that. Certainly not when you face the best teams or if they make it to the playoffs and beyond. It's just the Achilles heel of this team right now.
But they're sitting here at 7-3, and so the look ahead for the Chargers. Everybody's Chiefs game. They go to Jacksonville. It would have been, a 6-win Jacksonville team against a 7-win Chargers team if the Jags didn't blow it. So they're coming off that demoralizing loss. The Jags, they only have 5 wins, but playoff implications there. Then a bye, Raiders, and then Eagles, Chiefs back to back to start December for the Chargers. Eagles game should be great. and then going to Kansas City to see if you can get the sweep against the Chiefs. So Chargers, they're in position, man. They've got some big games in the second half of the year. I do worry about the offensive line, especially when they face Kansas City, when they face Houston, when they face Denver again. See if they could survive. But Herbert's, got the arm to be able to do it. They got the playmakers to be able to do it, and they got the defense. And then just kind of see what that balance is with the Vidal, Hampton running attack.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume
Hampton's big playability, though, I think can add something.
Yeah, I would assume Vidal very much takes a back seat as soon as Hampton's back in the lineup.
Yeah.
Like, he'll get some plays, but it's going to be Hampton the gig.
All right, man. I thought we were going to be over today. Bless you. Sunday, what's it tonight? Monday Night Football. Eagles, Packers. Should be a good one.
Big one.
If you do, unless you have YouTube TV, then maybe not. Or super secret feeds to watch the game. So, yeah, should be a fun Monday Night Football game. Why'd you rock your Barry jersey today?
Why not?
Lions victory Monday?
I mean, I just needed something that had, long sleeves and was
something to keep you warm.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a little raw in here, cold.
Chilly. It's pretty chilly.
You think it's going to be bad in January?
I do think it's going to be bad. Is it snowing out there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a winter wonderland out there.
That might make the journey back tricky in the Camaro.
The minivan. Big win for the minivan right now. Big win for the minivan. Pretty solid on these roads.
I was texting Ben.
I'm worried about the other drivers.
Yeah, I was texting Ben Stockwell on the way in. I was like, I would like to say that the car's never not made it home. That's technically not true, but it's never not made it to my driveway. It has failed on the driveway to get up into the garage.
You'll at least get to the driveway.
But I've made it to the driveway every single time.
Excellent. Well, be safe out there.
I'll try.
Good thing we didn't have Renner coming in today.
Renner would have bailed.
Afraid to drive in the snow.
Well, actually, it wasn't snowy on the way in, so he would have been trapped here.
Oh, he'd be stuck.
He'd be stuck here.
Crank out.
He'd be like, he'd come in, and then he'd have looked out the window, and he'd be like, I can't leave.
We'd just crank out content the rest of the day.
For the rest of the week.
We're supposed to have Dane Brugler on the show. Bonus show this week talking his top 50. So we got draft. Wednesday we'll do some more autopsies and some fun stuff there. So big stuff coming up here. Check the mic. Hit subscribe. Do all the stuff. And then tell everybody about our memberships.
Yeah, go check out.
Filling up over here.
Go check out the memberships. Thank you. Huge amount to everybody that's already signed up for any of our membership tiers. We've got 3 different tiers. The first tier gets you some merchandise discounts. It gets you it's like the best way of helping out the show. The second tier is when you get your name on the wall of the Check the Mic studio, not any other company that name gets lodged in my brain. You get your name up on the wall over there. We will run that at the end of this show. You'll see the name scroll by. And then the third tier, the Howard Hughes Billionaire tier, if you have more money than sense and you just want to do things that are fun, like a billionaire, you can rename the studio to whatever the hell you like, really. Like somebody already has.
Waiting on our next billionaire.
For example, what is our current studio name?
Antonio Cromartie Studio, in part with Huggies.
There you go.
Apparently. That's where we're at. All right. Appreciate everybody for tuning in, for being here. We'll see you again tonight with our instant reaction, and then Wednesday, more Check the Mic.